5:53 on the calendar in the matter of Worth versus Peck. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Worth, you have a dog.
Yes.
Ms. Peck owns a mobile grooming service, and according to you, about a year ago, you retained her to take care of your pet, and your lawsuit alleges that she caused the dog injury.
Yes.
You want her to compensate you for a whole bunch of things, including medical fees and stud fees and whatever. Ms. Peck says that it was due to your own negligence that the dog was as injured as he appears to be, and she is counterclaiming because she says that you've been bad-mouthing her service since this incident happened, and the incident had absolutely nothing to do with her neglect of your dog. What kind of a dog do you have?
A Cocker Spaniel.
How old?
He is 3 years old.
When did you hire Miss Peck?
January 14th of 2005.
Prior to January 14th, 2005, when had this dog been groomed and where?
Debbie's Dog Grooming.
Prior to January 14th, 2005, when had this dog been groomed at Debbie's Dog Grooming?
July 30th of 2004.
How often is the dog supposed to?
About every 3 months or so.
Between July of 2004 and January of 2005.
My sister-in-law had shaved him down.
So a non-professional shaved him down?
Yes.
When did a non-professional shave him down?
September.
So September, October, November, December, mid-January. So 4.5 months went by and the dog was not groomed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you found the defendant. She came to your house on January 14th. What happened?
She showed up at about 11:45, and when she arrived, she took Cody first because he's the bigger out of the two. So she took him out and she started to clip him.
So you were going to have 2 dogs groomed?
Yes.
What's the name of the dog that was injured?
Cody.
Okay, so she took Cody out.
So 45 minutes went by, and then she'd come in and told me her water ran out. She has no water. Her pipes were froze up in her van. So I took Cody, and she took Midget, our second dog. Well, I rinsed off Cody. As soon as she handed me Cody, I noticed there was a red spot above on his head. I didn't realize there was nicks and stuff on his ears or his neck. So I took him in and I bathed him in warm water, brought him back out, and I noticed it was really, really red.
How long did that take you?
To wash him,
You just rinsed him off.
I just rinsed him off.
How long did it take?
5 minutes, maybe.
And then you went outside, and she's working on Midget?
Yes.
Did you stop her? It's not an answer. Did you stop her from working on Midget?
No, I did not, because
Why not?
Because she was almost ready to have puppies. We needed her groomed.
Just a minute.
Okay.
You just told me that you had your dog.
Right.
That you rinsed off.
Right.
And you saw red spots that were very bad.
Right.
Now, you went outside, and clearly she could not have more than just begun to work on your other dog, because you said that she was gone for 45 minutes with Cody.
Right.
So this was 5 minutes later. I don't understand why you wouldn't have stopped her right away.
We needed the midget groomed. It was right before the weekend, and there's no other person that would be able to get her in there.
What about your sister-in-law, who shaved... Don't speak. I'm not speaking to you. What about your sister-in-law? Is it your sister?
Yeah, it's my sister.
Why couldn't she shave the dog down?
Because she didn't have the time to shave her down. That's why I let her cut her.
Keep going.
After she done groomed her, I called my wife and let my wife know that, well, in the process while she was grooming her, I called my wife. My wife rushed home to look up our mail.
You mean while Miss Peck was grooming the female who was about to have puppies, and very valuable, because I assume that you sell these puppies, you called your wife and you say, this is an emergency, you better come home and look at the mail.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then when she showed up, she went out and informed Miss Peck that she was about to have puppies.
Well, she must have known she was about to have puppies.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Go ahead.
She finished grooming her, and Sunday we took Cody into the vet, emergency vet, because of the injuries on his head.
I'd like to see the veterinarian's reports.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Very hard to read this.
It is a copy. The original is in the district court in Spokane.
Well, I can read scabbing something on left ear. Puncture wounds evident. Puncture wounds.
We have pictures.
Puncture wounds evident with a question mark. And then there's something about something oozing scabs, also with a question mark. Now I'll take a look at the pictures. Okay?
I do have the 4 pictures.
These are your only 2 dogs, is that correct?
Yes.
The other dog was okay. Okay. Have you seen the pictures of the dog?
Could I look at them and see if they are the same pictures that I've seen?
I believe Mrs. Peck has all the way up to the September 10th picture.
Thank you.
What happened to the puppies?
Sold them.
They were sold.
How many did Midget have?
She had 6, but 1 had died.
Okay, I'll hear you.
I'm an experienced groomer. I have 17 years training, setting other people up in their own mobile businesses. I know what clipper burn looks like, and this was not clipper burn.
What was it?
In my opinion, and the opinion of those professionals that I was able to elicit opinions from, including the original treating vet, whose medical report you have. I have a medical assessment from him as well.
I'd like to read that.
I highlighted the part where he references that he does not believe that it is attributable to clipper burn.
Oh, I'd like to see that, please. Is the veterinarian that you took your dog to, Michael?
No.
Who was it?
I took Cody to pet emergency, and then our vet, Claus and Paws, Dr. came to our house.
Just a second, I'm not talking about that. You mean this doctor who's sending this report, who said that he examined your dog on the 16th of January at the pet emergency clinic, is committing perjury?
That was the first one.
He's the one from pet emergency.
Right, and the doctor from pet emergency says that the lesions that were found on the dog were inconsistent with clipper burn and more consistent with a deep pyoderma, skin infection and inflammation that predated this grooming.
He did say it was a deep pyoderma, but that was not prior. That's what is
Well,
on.
you don't know that because the dog hadn't been clipped. You don't know that at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you took one of your children into a pediatrician and the child came out with a black eye, would you bring your other child there because he needed his vaccination?
No.
Why not? He needed his vaccination. You were there already.
And later today,
Taking a girlfriend there would...
Peck caused their dog Cody to be razor burned. Sherry is countersuing for defamation of character, lost wages, and vet fees.
This is the expert testimony that says that this is not a result of clipper burn. It was a result of pre-existing condition that went unnoticed because you hadn't had your dog groomed in a very long time.
My dog is a hands-on dog. He's constantly in my lap, and I constantly pet him.
me see
I
what
would
else you
know
have.
if he had an injury to his head or anything. I would not have let that go if I knew my dog had an
Well,
injury.
what I'm telling you is this is what the expert says who examined your dog on the 16th.
Okay, he did not tell me that. I did not receive a letter like that from him. I just have
Would you please
vet records.
give that, and I'd like to see what else she has.
This is a letter from their treating vet, from the mobile vet who saw the dog also. She indicates that that
Just
dog...
a second. Okay, would you just let them read this? I don't know whether they've seen this letter.
I have a third medical assessment from a veterinarian who was not allowed to see the vet. I'd offered the worst to have a second opinion on the animal because when they called me and told me that I had clipper burned their dog, I could not imagine in any way that that could have happened because I am an experienced groomer. I train people not to clipper burn
Well, sometimes
dogs.
that happens.
It happens? It
Sometimes,
does.
Ms. Peck, it
Yes,
does happen.
And that's exactly
One
why...
of my problems,
Yes.
one of my problems, I'm not reading something from an experienced vet who did not examine the
Yes.
dog. What I have, Mr. Worth, is a problem first with, if you saw that I own 2 dogs that I'm very attached to, as I'm sure you're attached to yours.
Yeah, very much attached.
And if I had one of the dogs at a groomer and they returned that dog to me and I saw burn marks on the dog, I would go in and I would remove the second dog immediately. I would not let somebody continue to work on it. I mean, if you love your pets, that's not what you do. How many children do you have?
4.
If you took one of your children into a pediatrician and the child came out with a black eye, would you bring your other child there because he needed his vaccination?
No.
Why not? He needed his vaccination. You were there already.
Because my first kid got a black eye.
Right. So if you believed that she caused this kind of serious injury to your dog, then you go and get the other one who was, aside from a loving pet, is a valuable dog. She's going to have puppies. How much did you sell the puppies for?
$400.
Each?
Yes.
So you made a couple of $1,000.
Yes.
I wouldn't have let somebody that I had no confidence in treat my second child.
Right.
You did. And according to you, if I believe you, which I'm not so sure about, you called your wife while she's working on the pregnant one and said, you better come home right away, instead of taking the dog out of her care. Well, I'm not
She was in mid-cut. I wasn't going to pull her out.
Listen to me. She wasn't in mid-cut according to your timeline, sir. Time is something I know. You say the first dog was in there for 45 minutes.
Right.
The second dog was in there for 5 minutes. So that's not in the middle of a clip, right?
Right.
Okay. So the vet says that this is probably not the result of clipper burn. And sometimes dogs get irritations. And sometimes when they have very long hair, you don't see it. So I have to determine whether you've met your burden in demonstrating to me that she's the one who caused this problem. Your own vet that you took the dog to the first time says she was not. How do you resolve that?
We didn't, when Dr. came to our house, it wasn't to find out whether or not it was clipper burns or not. It was because I felt that he was not healing properly. It was still kind of infected. After I followed all the medications from Pet Emergency.
It was infected?
Yes.
She groomed your other dog, Midget, with the same equipment, right?
Correct.
No infection?
No.
No problem?
No. But as on one of those pictures, it will show on the top of his head a scarring right here that is the same length and width as a clipper, which when Dr.
Listen to me. It could have been as a result of the clipper burn from your sister-in-law in July.
Tina and Eric Worth claim mobile dog groomer Sherry Peck caused their dog Cody to be razor burned. Sherry is countersuing for defamation of character, lost wages, and vet fees.
You prepared your case?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's your counterclaim, really?
Yes.
That it took you a lot of time, a lot of energy, etc.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what you have to do. That's what lawsuits are about. They honestly believe, I think, that you were responsible. I don't necessarily believe that that's true, based upon the evidence that you've put forward, which you prepared for this case, and based upon the fact that a non-professional had been the last person to groom this dog, who, according to them, shaved him down, so that he didn't have to be groomed for a very long time, something that certainly I wouldn't have done to a dog that I cared about.
He does have really long hair and it gets matted. And so once a year we do have him in a field cut.
That is just fine. And if you do that, you have somebody who's professional do it, not your sister-in-law. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties not excused.
19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend, David Walter, for a $500 loan. David says he's done a lot for Crystal, and they're even.
Ms. Taylor, the defendant was your boyfriend. According to you, you made a loan to him in the amount of $500. Mr. Walter acknowledges you gave him $500. He said it was very nice of you. It was a gift. You are no longer together. You want your money. When were you together?
We started dating in the beginning of March of this year, and we officially broke up in the end of July, but we were pretty much over in the beginning of July.
And when did you make this loan?
Almost exactly a month after we had started dating.
In April?
Yes.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding it.
He had taken his ex, which is the mother of his child, to court. She wasn't allowing him to see his son. So I went with him to court. I was April 6th exactly.
That's not a smart thing to do.
He had asked me to go, so I went with him.
It's not a smart thing for him to ask you to go.
I guess not. So we had gone, and while we were there, he had
Why did you ask her to go to court with you?
I wanted somebody to go to court with me. I had nobody to go to court with me.
Taking a girlfriend there when you're going for a visitation is not a very smart thing.
I realized that afterwards.
I didn't even know that there wasn't a scene in court. Was there a scene?
No, there wasn't really a scene.
Was there unpleasantness?
There was unpleasantness, correct.
Are you an only child?
Me? No.
Do you have siblings who live in the area?
Yes.
You have parents?
Not exactly.
But you have siblings?
Correct.
Take your sister.
I asked and she couldn't get the day off. I tried to get somebody else to go with me besides Crystal at the time.
She wasn't there when you made the baby, was she?
No.
You didn't need anybody to hold your hand when you made the baby, did you?
No.
What did you need somebody to go to court with you for?
I was just nervous, that's all.
What did you need this money for?
I needed it to pay some back taxes and to re-register a truck because my truck was in my ex's name. She canceled all the insurance, registration, everything. She insisted to get it from a friend, and I would pay it back, and she insisted she would give it to me. So therefore...
So you were going to get it from a friend and pay your friend back?
Yeah. And then we discussed it. It was a gift because I spent numerous amounts of money on her as well.
Like what?
I bought her a watch. I bought her diamond earrings. We went out to dinner all the time. I gave her gas money when needed. She, we moved in together.
Okay. Now, did he buy you presents?
Yes, he bought me gifts.
Did you buy him gifts?
Yes, I did.
Tell me what you bought him.
I bought him a bracelet for his birthday.
And?
There were times that we went out to eat that I paid for stuff. So it was pretty equal, and he never once gave me gas money. He took my car to work, and there was no gas put in it.
When you gave him this $500, when did you tell him you wanted him to pay you back?
Well, originally we had the conversation right after court that he said that he did have someone he could borrow money from but didn't want to. He told me he hated the fact that he was borrowing the money from me, but he would definitely pay it back. And I made it perfectly clear I needed it ASAP. And
what'd you need it ASAP for?
Because of the fact that I was taking it out of in a bank account that military money was being put into, and I was trying to go to school, and I would need that money for college because the Army in the reserves doesn't pay for all of your college.
How come the Army was putting money into your account?
I was getting paid for going to drill and doing, well, exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
You say in your complaint that we agree that once he caught up with his child support and other bills, he would begin paying me back. That doesn't sound like you agreed that he was going to pay you back ASAP.
He said he would pay me as soon as possible. The court, when we went to court, said that they were going to be taking some back child support along with the current child support out of his paycheck. And he had told my mom that he planned on giving me money the first week or two after that because he gets paid more than he said he got paid.
So what happened?
We actually got into many fights after that about the fact that he said I kept bringing the money up in front of everyone all the time, that I needed it back. And we got into numerous fights about that. He's talked to my mother about wanting to pay me back but not having the money right then, and he wished he could.
Is that right, sir?
No. I consider it as a gift.
I don't care what you consider.
Okay.
That's not what I'm asking you, Mr. Walter.
I don't recall
Did you
having any conversations with her mother about it.
Did you have arguments with her about the money?
We definitely got in arguments about the money.
About this money?
This money and other money.
I don't care about the other money, Mr. Walter. Don't play with me.
This money, yes.
And were the arguments about this money when you were going to start to give her money?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Pay your bills. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. In the matter of Ikuzi versus Pottle. Parties have been
Thank
sworn.
you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Ikuzi, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we get started, my pronoun is he. I made that clear. My name is Lee, and my pronoun is he. And
I didn't see
DOI.
that. I have Lisa.
Yeah, also known as Lee Ikuzi.
Okay.
I'm a trans.
It is your claim that the defendant assaulted you, Mr. Ikuzi, and the defendant says that quite the contrary, it was you who assaulted him. How do you know each other?
I met Dean Pottle when I was the Portland International Hostel manager, and I was in charge of the facilities at the time, and I also lived there. Dean came to my residence at the hostel looking for work. He was actually homeless at the time, and I took him in.
All right, so that's how you met him.
Yep.
When did this alleged assault take place?
April 2nd, 2005.
Tell me the circumstances, please.
I had a business transaction with Dean Pottle that failed. He was supposed to do a plumbing job for me in exchange for me mowing a lawn for him. I also had $1,000 with the oil paintings in his house that we were going to exchange for him to do plumbing services. I went over to his house 2 times. Both times I brought my witness, and on the second time I was assaulted.
Tell me how you were assaulted.
I brought my friend Buddy. There was a driveway that separated Buddy, Dean, and myself. I was leaning back on the car that was separated about 4 feet of driveway to Dean's house. Dean was arguing with Buddy. I told Dean that I was going to tell everybody that he's bisexual, and he ran 2 big full steps. It just pushed his arm, swung me around into the car.
Just a minute. You went very quickly.
Yes.
You said you ran 2 steps?
No. I was leaning against the car here, and there was Dean's house.
Just a second. First you threatened to tell people that he was a bisexual.
Right, because he harassed me.
How was he harassing you when you came to his house?
I was at his house to collect money in my oil paintings.
I didn't hear how he was harassing you.
He harassed me 3 days before, and I was still upset about the incident. And
How did he harass you 3 days before?
I was at his house. I was massaging his hands. He went into the bathroom to take off his shirt to massage his shoulders. He came out butt naked and asked me to play with his...
So then why would you go back to his house?
Well, I brought a witness with me because I had $1,000 worth of paintings that
Did you get your paintings?
The second time that I arrived at the defendant's house, I did get my paintings.
And what I'm asking you is, why did you have any exchange with him at all if you had your paintings?
Within the hour of the assault, at the beginning of the assault, I came in, brought a friend, asked him to go get my paintings, which I needed.
So we went and got your paintings?
Right. While I was getting my paintings, Dean came outside.
Just a second. Your paintings are in the car? If all 3 of you were there...
Paintings are in the car.
So now they're in the car.
Right.
Why aren't you in the car leaving?
Because he owes me more money. He owes me money.
Untrue.
He owes money from doing a plumbing job that he refuses to pay me. So I'm asking for my money. He refuses to pay me.
Put your hand down, please.
He refuses to pay me. And we have a verbal exchange. We've been friends for 7 years. I was really upset at what he did to me. I'm going through this transition. I felt he was taking advantage of me.
Keep going.
And words were exchanged. He walked 2 steps up to me and pushed me into a car. I swung back and got him off me. And
When you swung back, you hit him.
Well, he was on top of me. He was on top of me, pushed me into a car, and he was on top of me.
How was he on top of you?
I have fingerprints. He pushed me like this, and he was on top of me right here when he pushed me. I leaned back, and I hit him.
I only defended myself.
Let me hear what happened, sir.
Well, when I followed him out with the paintings, and the car was out on the street, and I stood back at my driveway, probably 20 feet away from the car. When he went toward the car to put the paintings in the street, she came out of the vehicle and came toward me. Now, she was nowhere near a vehicle. Now, she came toward me very aggressively and yelling profanities and everything else. So instinctively put my hand out to defend myself. And when she came close to me, I went like this and said, "Get out of Portland," because I felt she didn't belong in our environment there. And I turned to look at him, and he says, "Oh, you touched her first." And when I looked back, she went, bam, like this, right against my lip here. And I staggered back, yelled at me, and that's when she left.
First of all, sit up. Second of all, don't speak until I speak to you.
Okay.
Do you have a photograph of your injury?
No, I don't.
Do you have a photograph of your injury?
I have documentation of medical records.
I'd like to see it, please. Now you can step up, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
My name is Buddy Bercu,
Spell your last name.
B-E-R-C-U. It's Romanian.
Left hand, left arm,
Kind of
Bruce.
difficult the first time. Anyway.
All right, now I ask questions.
Yes, go ahead.
I ask questions.
Please.
The paintings are in the car.
Okay, the paintings are in the car. I come back. He comes out, and the car is parked right by the driveway.
Who's in the car?
No one's in the car. They're both arguing with each other, and I'm like, okay, let them vent a little bit and get some of this out, because...
Just a second.
I
When
don't want to
were they
intervene.
as you were putting the paint? I'm speaking. You're not paying attention
When they
to
were
me.
putting the paintings were already in the car, you said.
Listen to me.
Okay,
Listen. Try
I'm trying.
putting on your listening ears.
I will.
You're putting the paintings in the car,
That's correct.
and he's letting you take the paintings.
That's correct.
Now, the last of the paintings is in the car, right?
That's correct.
Why didn't you both get in the car and leave?
Because, Your Honor, this isn't about that. It's about the disrespect and the way that the abuse had gone down in the first place. And he had not said he was
You're talking
sorry.
about this incident 3 days before that Lee has just described to me.
Apparently, Lee hadn't worked through the whole incident yet, Your Honor.
Then he was angry.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Got it. See how easy it is to get to the truth?
Can I give you some more truth, or do you want?
Can I get to the truth?
Be quiet.
Absolutely. Could you give me some more bald facts, sir?
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, ma'am.
determine what the truth is.
I understand that.
You understand?
You're the judge.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's over. Finished. Who has an order of protection?
His former friend Dean Pottle assaulted him. Dean claims he was only protecting himself.
Okay. So far we have somebody who wanted their paintings, made 3 trips, got the paintings, but according to you and your Lee's witness, Lee wasn't finished being angry about something that happened 3 days before and wanted an apology.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I got it.
And then what happened was he said, instead of, "I have a restraining order on you," or "get out of my property," he said, "Get out of Portland," which I thought was a little bit wide of a swath for his powers. I mean, Portland's a big
Yes.
place. And then he approached, what he did was he just said, basically, "Get out of Portland, get out of Portland." And the third "get out of Portland," like rushed like he was doing a shot put. And just the whole body, everything came through, but not upward, but straight, like a thrust, and hit. And I could see that she grimaced in pain, and she was crying out. And then what happened simply is a counterattack just to save face. Because I would imagine transitioning to become a man, you have to prove to other men you're a man. So that's why I stayed away from this up until this point. I didn't feel there was any danger up to that point where I had to intervene. I got some heat for that. Say, well, I should have just kicked his, I wasn't going to do that. So anyway, I don't think violence solves anything. And at any rate, what happened was he said, "You can't hit me," or "You can't hit me, I'll kill you," or something. I don't remember what it was exactly. Something to that effect. Just was really surprised that Lee would counterattack. And then I just stepped in and said, "Look, you hit Lee first." And just kind of diffused him.
Did you see his bloody lip?
No, he had no bloody lip. There's no... It was... The hand, she was like this, because, it was not a closed fist. And I never use a fist, because you could not close it.
I'm not asking just whether you use a fist
But
or not.
I'm just saying, you can hurt
I'm
your
not
hand.
interested. Shh, I'm not interested in whether you use a fist or not. It's not
Yes, ma'am.
particularly relevant here.
I want you to stop. You don't even make any fun of yourself. I want you to stop.
Shh.
I apologize.
You're killing me.
Right.
When was the first time that you were prescribed Vicodin?
I've had an ongoing neck and conditioning.
Right, I see that. So you had all kinds of problems that you were prescribed Vicodin for and all kinds of other pain medication.
Right.
Listen, you both behaved badly. You're not supposed to hit her. She's not supposed to come onto your property aggressively, which is exactly what she did. You're not supposed to push her. You're not supposed to punch him. It's over. Finished. Who has an order of protection? Either one of you?
I'm going to get one from both of them.
Well, that's a very, very good idea, sir.
Thank you.
And do me a favor, get one for me, too. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step. O'Bannon versus Carney. Step forward, please.
20-year-old casino dealer Melissa O'Bannon is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Josh Carney, for rent and for stealing from her bank account.
Miss O'Banion, according to what I read in your complaint, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship for about 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
20. And you?
21.
And how many of those years was spent playing house together in the same apartment?
About 2.5.
And who are these people?
That is the witness and my new girlfriend.
And this person?
That is my mom.
According to your complaint, Ms. O'Banion, the defendant made some unauthorized withdrawals from your ATM, and he agreed to pay you back. Mr. Carney says that he never made any unauthorized withdrawals from your bank account. You never made any loans to him. You also say he owes you for some rent and for some property.
Yes.
Mr. Carney says he didn't take any property that didn't belong to him, that all he really wanted to do was to separate from you and do so in a clean way, and you should divide the property that you accumulated together amicably, and you refused to do that. Right?
Correct.
For the 2.5 years you were living together, Ms. O'Banion, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working for my mom, cleaning offices.
And how much were you earning?
About $1,500 a month.
And what about you, Mr. Carney?
I did a lot of fast food management.
How much did you earn?
Probably about $13.50 a month.
So you earned pretty much the same amount.
Correct.
How did you handle your finances?
We did them separately.
We actually had a joint checking account what everything was paid out of.
You had a joint account?
All bills were paid out of the same joint checking account.
Is that right?
For the last year, yes.
It was last 2, and it was the whole time.
Fine.
The time we moved in.
Why don't you think about the answers to your questions, Miss O'Banion? What ATM did he make withdrawals from?
It was from my credit card.
Well, in order for somebody to make withdrawals from a credit card, they have to have a PIN number.
He knew the PIN number.
What do you mean he knew it? He got it from you in your sleep?
Well, I used the same PIN number that I used from our checking, and he knew it.
Well, tell me about these unauthorized withdrawals, Miss O'Banion.
The first time he went down and took $100 to go out drinking.
Did he tell you about it?
No, he took it from my wallet, and when he came home from work, I asked him if he knew where my credit card was, and I couldn't find it. He said he never seen it, and the next day it appeared in my wallet.
Well, when it appeared in your wallet, did you ask him about it?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He denied it.
What's next?
A couple weeks later, he had a credit card that was with our previous bank, and he wanted to close that out, and so he took $500 off of it.
Well, did he tell you about that?
We had discussed it, yes, and he said that he was going to pay me back the $500.
Okay. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, that one does. The authorized one does. And the other one, anytime any money was taken off her credit card, she was with me the whole time. Any authorized was with her. I never had her PIN number.
Okay, so $500 was for your own personal use. So now you don't have the debt on your credit card and she has it on hers.
Correct.
Well, you have to give it back to her. Got it? Okay. What else does he owe you for?
He owes me for rent. He had moved out, I believe it was May 13th, and that's when we divided up all of our stuff, and he gave me the key back. And May 20th was when he got paid. He was supposed to give me $312.
For June's rent?
Yes, which is rent.
And did he give you the half?
No.
Well, who was supposed to pay the rent in June?
Person living in the apartment at the time. I was off the lease.
Well, you weren't off the lease.
I was actually, according to the statement I have from the apartments. I was off the lease as of May 27th.
Let me see.
Your Honor, he was taken off the lease after he broke into my apartment. They immediately took him off the lease so he could not go into the apartment again.
Okay. Where did you move in June?
I moved into her apartment.
Step up, please. First time I interviewed a girlfriend that I found them useful. Tell me your name.
Suzanne Olson.
Who do you live with, Miss Olson?
With Josh.
Only?
And his mother. And my 2 kids.
Well, now we're getting there. Josh.
His mom. And
his
my 2
mother.
kids.
And your 2 children.
Correct.
Okay. Whose apartment or house is it?
His mother's.
The original apartment in question.
I'm speaking, Swifty. So you live in his mother's house?
Correct. We just moved there.
When?
When did we move?
That's my question. I need an answer.
In the middle of June.
And where did you live before that?
In an apartment.
With whom?
My 2 kids.
And when did he move into your apartment?
The middle of May.
So he did not pay rent when he moved in with you in the middle of May.
He...
Right. He did not pay rent. Don't play with me, Miss Olson. I'm 10 times ahead of you. We understand each other?
Okay.
And then when you could no longer live in that apartment, you moved in with his mother?
Correct. We moved to the town where his mother lives to get away from everything that was going on.
To get a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your intention to get a place of your own?
Correct.
Lovely. Do you personally give his mother any money for rent?
Yes.
How much do you give her?
$300 a month.
And how much do you give your mother?
That's the $150 apiece. Is what we give her.
Well, why do you give her $150 apiece? She's got 2 children.
The 2 children are cared for by their fathers, by child support and also by her.
You're not following me, sir. There were 4 of you living in your mother's home.
Correct.
So you don't split this in half. Very small percentage of that $300 a month is yours. She's 3 people, and according to you, she gets plenty of child support.
Correct.
In addition to her own salary. So you've got to pay the last month's rent in June. You got it?
Got it.
Perfect. How much is his share?
It is $312.50.
All right, 500 and 312.50. 812. What else do you want from him?
The items he stole, after he gave me back his key and had left, he had a copy that I was unaware about and had gone back and took other items after we
Like
split
what?
up things. He took a digital camera, a TV, which we did pay half and half.
I'm not splitting that up. Go ahead.
He took all the DVDs, and he also took a videotape of my son.
That involved a child. You had a miscarriage, is that right?
It was a stillborn.
Or a stillborn? His?
Yes.
It's a sonogram?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? You have that?
Yes,
You want it?
I do. That's the only item I was able to obtain. Everything else was hidden, so I do want
Well,
it.
then why don't I suggest you do this, Mr.
I offered to
Carney.
make a copy and give it to her.
Fine.
Which I have not yet received.
Well, then do it.
We'll do.
Do it 5 days from today. All the rest of those things, you're going to have to get over. You understand? Okay. You owe her $812.50. That's all. Step out.
Please excuse me, step out. 77 on the count in the matter of Rodriguez versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Johnson was your girlfriend for a
Yes.
period of time, and it is your claim that on 2 occasions she caused an accident which damaged your truck, and you want her to pay to have your truck repaired.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson acknowledges that there were 2 accidents in the truck while she was driving. Her answer seems to indicate that you told her at the time it was no big deal and you would take care of fixing them. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that you have bad temper, that you damaged the apartment by putting holes in the wall with your fist, and that at one point you assaulted her. That's her counterclaim. Is that right?
Yes.
Who is this lady?
That's my daughter's mother.
Can you tell me why she's here?
She was a witness to a phone call that I spoke with Elizabeth about my payments to my truck for the damages.
I see.
And she heard the conversation with her.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter's 2.
Is that your only child?
I have 2 other children, too.
You thought about that for a second. How old are your other 2 children?
I got one that's 10 and one that's 8.
And who do they live with?
They live with their mother.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rodriguez?
I'm a union carpenter,
How much do you earn a year?
roughly about $40,000.
And your 8 and 10-year-old, they live with their mother? And what
Yes.
does their mother do for a living?
She's just a stay-at-home mom.
You must be very wealthy.
No,
Well, who supports your 8 and 10-year-old children?
I do.
How much do you send them?
I send the mother probably about $500-600 a month.
You send her about $500 or $600.
It all depends on how much money she needs throughout the month.
You have a court order, sir?
No.
Even if I believed, sir, that you sent her $500 a month, she's not supporting herself and 2 children on $500 a month. How does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
She lives with a boyfriend?
Yes.
And he supports her.
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
I'm not even sure.
Don't you see your children?
Yes.
And you have no idea. Well, how often do you see your children?
I see him like probably about 3 times a month.
Somehow, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not getting the sense that I'm getting truthful answers from you, sir. But I'm going to find out. Now, this young lady who's here has a 2-year-old child.
Yes.
You under court order to pay her support?
Yes.
How much?
I pay her $83 a week, a total of $103 a week for arrears, $20 towards arrears of child support.
So there was a time when you weren't paying child support.
Yes, before I got into the union.
And how much do you owe her?
Right now, the remaining balance on her is $600 and some change.
And how does she support herself?
She has a full-time job.
Who takes care of the baby?
Daycare.
Pays for the daycare?
Her and I both share daycare.
How much do you pay towards the daycare?
$43 a week.
So far, is all that correct?
Yes.
$1,221 a month you pay out.
Yes.
How do you get there? Who do you live with?
I live with my mom.
You pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
$300 a month.
You have a car?
Yes.
Pay insurance?
Yes.
How much?
That's $2,300 every 6 months.
$22,000, like $23,000. We're up to $23,000, right?
Yes.
You see where I'm going, sir? You eat?
Yes.
You have credit cards?
No.
Pay for everything in cash?
Yes.
You have a truck payment?
Yes. $387 a month.
$400 a month.
Yes.
So now we're up to about $30,000 a year.
I also work a second job, full-time.
Oh, the courts know about that?
Yes.
Betcha. They don't. How much do you earn at, but they will now. How much do you earn at the second job?
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. I'm up to $7 an hour on that job. Sometimes I work 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week.
The reason I'm asking you all of these questions, Mr. Rodriguez, is I was really interested in Miss Johnson's answer. While she acknowledged that she was in these minor accidents with your car, there was a little damage, She says that her mother, I assume this is her mother,
Yes.
was nice enough to loan you $6,000 to pay back child support.
Your Honor, that wasn't all for child support.
What was it for?
Well, it was $1,900 of it went to child support.
So $2,000, according to you, went for
Yes.
child support. And the
Yes.
other $4,000?
The other $4,000, I paid some bills that I had that were past due. And then it was like $2,000 of it that me and Elizabeth went out and spent.
You borrowed $6,000 from her and you signed a note?
Yes.
Have you paid it back?
I have.
Oh, is not an answer.
No.
When did you borrow the money?
May 6th.
I believe it was like July 24th
May 6th.
or May 6th. May have been May 6th.
May, July, they sound alike. Why haven't you paid it back?
Elizabeth got a restraining order against me, and the judge told me not to make any contact with them whatsoever.
Are you mad? I mean, is that the reason you're giving me? You have to understand, Mr. Rodriguez. I can tell phonies from at least 10 feet away. The fact that she's got a restraining order against you doesn't mean you can't send a Federal Express to our mother with a payment.
I asked the judge that. He said no contact whatsoever if she wanted her
Are
money
you
from
kidding me? You mean that but for that, the money would have been in her hands already?
Yes. I went to court today at a restraining order, and I had to check for her.
Good. Perfect. Do you have it with you?
No, not today.
What do you know? I would have taken it for her. You got a spare check in your wallet?
No,
Take a
I didn't.
look.
I didn't bring any checkbooks or nothing today.
See why I don't trust you, Mr. Rodriguez? Because you tell such good stories. You may tell them over and over again. And you actually believe that you can come here and tell me a story.
Your Honor, it's not a story.
Which irritates me.
It's not a story.
Which irritates me. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, you knew you were coming to a neutral setting today. You knew that you owed this lady the money. Nothing would have prevented you from saying, Judge, while I'm here, because I'm asking you as a court of equity to take care of this problem that I have, I want to take care of my debts, and I owe her $6,000. So I would really like to be able to give you the check for her, because I have the money. I'd like to give you the check so that you can give it to her and I won't be violating any restraining order. You got it.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Johnson, I want you to tell me about the first accident you had with Mr. Rodriguez's car.
I was picking him up from work. It was a little wet out, and the tractor trailer was coming into my lane, so I hit the brakes and I hit the guardrail instead of him hitting me, so that's what happened.
And how much damage was done to the car?
I have pictures.
I'd like to see it. And what was the date of that incident?
I'm not exactly sure. It's sometime in June. This is the side of the damage.
And I'd like
this
you
is
to
the
keep
other
your
side.
voice up because, you know, my hearing isn't what it used to be when I was 12. Oh, you did damage to the light and to the bumper. What year truck is this, Mr. Rodriguez?
A 98.
Did you cover this on your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I didn't call it into the insurance company because I felt as though, why should my insurance go on the truck?
Okay. Did she say she would fix it?
Yes, she did.
Fix it.
23-15-09.
And tell me about the second accident,
The
Ms.
second
Johnson.
accident, we were driving to a second job, and he was arguing with me, and I was stopped at a red light, and the light turned green, and he was still arguing with me, and I looked over at him, and I thought the cars were going, so I started to go, and then I tapped somebody in the back because he had stopped.
You have a picture of the damage?
I don't have a picture
Your
of
Honor,
that.
I have
There's a
pictures.
little dent in the middle of the...
I'd like to see it.
There are pictures of the car that she hit and my truck also.
Well, that's the same bumper that's going to have to be repaired. When they take the bumper off and they fix it from the first accident, they're going to fix the second one.
Well, the first one when she hit, it was only the side fender and the light and
No,
a couple
no,
of
no, no,
scratches
no,
on
no,
the
it
side of the
wasn't.
bumper.
No, it wasn't. It was down here. And here.
Yes.
And this one is right in the middle, right here. Is that right?
Yeah. and-
Well, when they take it off, they'll fix them both. Now, that's your case. What makes you think he forgave this debt?
He told me when he was trying to get back with me after I broke up with him, he said, don't worry about it, I'll pay for it. That's what he said.
No.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Now, is that your complaint against
Also, I
person?
have an estimate from the car rental because I'm going to need to rent a car for a week.
Take the bus. Maybe she'll loan you her car. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
He damaged my holes in the wall. I mean, the holes in the wall.
You have pictures of that?
Yes. The bruise on
When
my
did
arm.
that happen?
The 22nd of July.
Tell me what happened.
I asked some girl, called his phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And he hung up on her, so I called her back. She told me that they had conversations, and he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her, I didn't talk to her. And he swore up and down all three of his kids that
Just
he
a
didn't
second.
talk to her.
I didn't follow this from the beginning. You have to go through this slowly for me. You know, I'm not really up on this intrigue. You found somebody's number on his phone?
She had called his cell phone. He picked up the phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And then he hung up on her. He got out of the truck to unload a car because we were at his job, and so I called her back. And we were talking.
What'd you do that for?
Just to ask
Curious.
her a question, yeah. I mean, I didn't have any arguments with the girl on the phone, nothing. So I called her back, and she told me that they had conversations, and then we hung up. When he got back in the truck, I asked him if he had talked to her, and he said no, I didn't talk to her, and he swore up and down on all his kids that he didn't talk to her. You know, for about 3 hours, he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her. So he told me, go ahead, check on the Sprint bill. So I went and checked on the Sprint bill. 33 minutes of conversation with the girl's number, and he didn't call her.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
I never denied talking to her.
Yes, you did.
So you had a fight?
It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, we were fighting, and he said, I'm tired. I said, well, I'm tired, too. If you didn't lie to me, we wouldn't be going through this. He got so pissed off of me, he picked up the candle off my TV with the glass dish, threw it at me, and hit the wall.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yes, it is.
How did the holes get in the wall, sir?
I seriously don't know. I did repairs on the mother's house for the bedroom, the bathroom, and the outside siding. Why would
That
I
has
damage a
nothing
house
to
that I
do with
just
the holes
fixed?
in the wall.
Just asked you how the holes got in the wall.
I have no clue.
Okay. Did you have the walls fixed?
Yeah, I have an estimate for that, to get them fixed.
Was this in your apartment?
This is in my mother's house, in my bedroom.
Was he staying with you?
Yes, for the 4 months that we were going out, he lived at my house.
Why?
Because she
I felt bad for him.
asked me to move in with her.
I did not.
After the first time that we went out, she asked me to move in with her.
Mr. Rodriguez, we've only just met, you and I.
Yes.
I can tell you're instantaneously attracted to me. If I said to you, I want you to move in with me, would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
That would be very smart, Mr. Rodriguez.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had marks on your...
Ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Johnson owes for 2 accidents with his truck.
I mean, it's so stupid what you said. I mean, do you think you're a stupid man?
No.
You just met her and she asked you to move in with us, so you moved in with her?
Yes.
You have a bridge?
For sale?
Yeah.
I can find one.
You can find one. Okay. According to what I read in your answer, there was something in your answer, Miss Johnson, that suggested to me that you were aware of the fact that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper. Is that right, madam?
Yes.
You did. And how did you know that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper?
With her. He told me stories. They've been in and out of court for 5 years. She tried to get a restraining order.
Some of it for domestic violence? Is that right?
Yes.
And despite all that, you invited Mr. Wonderful into your house.
Yes.
And your mother, who I don't even want to talk to, was dumb enough to give him money.
Yes.
You must live off a substantial inheritance.
No.
Where did you get the money from that you loaned to him?
I borrowed it off my credit card for him, so he would not go to jail for back child support, which was about $4,000.
Who did you owe back child support to? This lady or the mother of the other 2 children?
This lady.
Stand up. Over there. Did you pursue that matter in court of the back child support? Did you pursue it or did the state pursue it?
I didn't pursue it. They had already, when I had our daughter, I had to call and enter a child support order. We had
Why?
Because we weren't together at the time.
Who was supporting you?
I was living home with my parents, and I had a job.
You never received any government assistance?
No.
So somebody had to report him for not paying child support. That would have had to have been you.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's all. Sit down. Now I got it. Now you say that during this altercation with the candlesticks, he also assaulted you.
Not at that time.
When did he assault you?
I had kicked him out on July 25th. We had a week of nasty phone calls because I wanted my stepfather's tools back that he wouldn't return. And then 2 weeks after that, I was at a funeral, and he called me, he texted me, he said, I'm sorry about your grandfather, and then I talked to him again. 2 weeks he was begging me to come back to him, please take me back, I'm sorry, and that's when.
Well, so then you said okay.
I said okay, and about 2 days later, I spent the night at his friend's house with him, and the next day is when I had to get a restraining order against him.
Well, tell me what happened at the friend's house. Well, you didn't learn your lesson yet, Miss Johnson.
Well, we got into an argument, and I wanted to go home, so he...
About what?
About anything and everything.
Your Honor, about one of my roommates that was walking around in a sports bra. That's
One of your...
A roommate on where I'm staying at now. She was walking around with a sports bra, doing her dishes, and her boyfriend was there with her, and she freaked out on me about her doing that. And I said to her, there was nothing I could do about her walking around with a sports bra on. It's her house, too. I can't say nothing to her.
No.
And this was all the day before I was supposed to go and have surgery that following Monday.
Surgery on?
I had some medical problems.
So we had an argument. Yes, she was walking in a sports bra.
I don't care if she was walking in a sports bar or if she was walking around with a G-string. It makes no difference to me. I want you to tell me how it came about that you say he put his hands on you.
I'm getting there. So I asked him to take me home. So he took me home, and then on the way home, he, was buttering me up, so I agreed to go back. And about 3 hours later, we got into another argument because he was getting jealous because one of my friends was texting me. So then, I said, I want to go home. I want to go home. And he put his hands on me, and he grabbed me and said, no, stay. And I said, no, I want to go home. And I had my bag, I had everything in my hand. He just kept grabbing me, broke my cell phone. He threw it down the stairs. He swung his hands after he threw my cell phone down the stairs and hit me in the eye right here. He threw me onto the couch, onto the floor.
Have a police report?
I do, Your
I have
Honor.
the restraining order. The restraining order. The
No,
temporary
I
restraining
just
order.
wanted, I don't want to see the restraining
You want the
order. I want
restraining
to see a
orders
police
too? I got
report.
copies of them too.
Of what?
I got copies of the restraining orders too if you want to see them.
And I ask for it. So you had marks on your face, and so did he, because you hit him and he hit you. Is
I
that
slapped
right?
him in the face after he threw me on the couch and onto the floor.
It says that you hit him twice.
No, I hit him.
It was more
I
than
hit
twice,
him.
Your Honor.
Yeah, but
After he-
according to the police report, you hit him twice.
After he threw my phone down the steps, I hit him on his back, and then he continued to grab me.
I assume you're not going to have anything to do with him anymore, is that right? I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Deal with it. You better smarten up, Miss Johnson. You don't look like a stupid girl, but you've done a lot of stupid things. Now, as far as your complaint is concerned, Mr. Rodriguez, I believe that she owes you for the damage that she acknowledges that she did to the truck. Your estimate was for 23.
I have an agreement, too.
It was for 23-15-09.
2315.
Yes, 09.
We are holding that judgment in abeyance, which means that you will not be getting paid on that judgment. You will get paid on that judgment when this court receives a canceled check, canceled by her, for the amount you owe her. Do you understand?
The full amount?
Do you understand?
$5,300.
Your Honor?
$5,300.
$5,300. When this court receives, sir, proof by way of a canceled check that you have paid the $5,300 remaining on your debt.
Even though we had an agreement signed?
$5,300, sir. When we receive proof that you have paid her, money that you acknowledge that you owe her, is that right?
Yes.
You'll get your check. Do you understand?
Yes.
Goodbye and good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Dolphin, hurt.
I want to count in the matter of Benedetto versus Saavedra Rivas.
We have another case as well. Can I have that, the second one? Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Who is Miss Saavedra? And Mr. Rivas? Why don't you folks have a seat, please, first, because I'm going to take care of this case first. Miss Saavedra, stand over there, because this case is a little complicated. I'm going to uncomplicate it for everybody. You own a car.
Right.
Or owned a car. What kind of car did you own?
It was a Ford
Speak
Taurus.
up.
Ford Taurus.
Mr. Rivas was your boyfriend?
No.
A friend?
Yeah.
According to your complaint, he stole your car.
Right.
You reported it stolen.
Right.
He was in an accident. Totaled the car?
Correct.
You want him to pay you the value of the car, or $5,000, because it was worth more than $5,000, but that's the limit of small claims court.
Correct.
Mr. Rivas says that he did not steal your car. He borrowed your car. He had an accident that was not his fault, and he shouldn't have to pay for it. That's your defense.
Yes.
These are the people who were involved in the accident. So we'll get to their case in a minute.
Okay.
Because they are suing the two of you. You as the owner of the car, and he is the driver of the car.
Right.
You get it?
I got it.
Correct. So, Mr. Rivas, when did you take the car?
Actually, we drove off the lot together with it, and she gave me the car. It was a gift. It was a gift.
Is what you're telling me, sir, that you drove off the lot the day the car was purchased?
Yes.
Did this accident occur at that time?
No.
How much time passed before the accident happened?
I would say about 3 weeks.
Who purchased the car?
She did.
And in whose name was the car?
Under her name.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
And she gave you the car as a gift?
Well, actually, I gave the down payment, which was like $300 for it.
Why was that, Mr. Rivas?
Because we had an agreement that the car would be mine if she took the car out. And all I would have to do is give the down payment or the deposit for the car.
Ah, I get it. Mr. Rivas, why can't you have a car in your name?
Because I don't have a license.
Why else?
That's it.
Why don't you have a license, Mr. Rivas?
It was revoked.
When?
I was like 17.
How old are you now?
21.
And when did you make this arrangement with Miss Saavedra?
After 2 weeks I met her. We came to an agreement to go to drive time and take out a car.
Now, why would she do that for you if you were just friends?
I don't know, the kindness out of her heart, I guess.
Shh. Now, if I were to call drive time, would they tell me that the two of you were in there together?
Yes.
When was the car purchased, Miss Saavedra?
5/17/04.
From the time you drove the car, sir, May 17th, 2004, until the day of the accident, which was on what date?
It had to be a couple weeks after that. I'm not too sure.
When was the accident, folks?
5/7/04.
So you mean the accident was 5/7/04, and you purchased the car 5/17/04, so somehow that doesn't work out, Ms. Saavedra. Not even in the twilight zone of this courtroom, purchased the car.
4/22/04.
Ms. Saavedra, look at me. Was Mr. Rivas with you at drive time when you purchased the car?
Yes, he was.
All right. You see, none of this was in this paperwork. Do you think you're going to come here and throw some baloney to me that he stole the car?
No.
All right. From April 22nd, 2004 until May 7th, 2004, Mr. Rivas, did you have the car in your possession?
Yes, I did.
And you paid the $300 deposit?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay by check or cash?
It was cash.
Who did you give the cash to?
To the car salesman?
You have a copy of the contract? Yes. Does the contract say that there was a $300 deposit?
Yes, right here.
And does it say the $300 deposit was in cash?
No, it does not.
Was by check?
It says the total cost of the purchase is on credit, including your down payment, which is $300. It does not say anywhere about being in cash.
You didn't give him a check, though.
No.
So Mr. Rivas gave him cash.
He never gave anybody money.
Mr. Rivas drove the car out of the lot.
No, he did not.
Did you ever have the car in your possession from April 22nd until May 7th?
Yes, I did.
When?
The day that I drove it off the lot, and about a couple of days after, and then I stopped, and then I met up with him, and then we...
What do you mean you stopped?
I just thought I wasn't able to go. I didn't go anywhere, so I was in my house. And then he called threatening me to kill me. So then I...
Miss Saavedra, do you think that I believe anything of what you're telling me now? I believe him. I believe him that you went to this drive time because you didn't tell me anything about that in the paper. What you said in your complaint was he stole your car, and you reported the car stolen. And that's not what happened, is it?
Well, it is.
That's not really what happened, is it?
No, it is what happened. I have a police report and everything that I had made.
On what date?
5/14/04.
On the 14th of May?
Yes.
That's a week after the accident.
But he had took the car already.
A week after the accident, you reported the car stolen? When did he take the car? Miss Saavedra, don't play around with me. When did he take the car?
I don't know the exact date, ma'am, but I just know he had took the car.
Well, why didn't you... Just a second. Why didn't you report it stolen the day he took the car?
I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And I had called him on his cell phone telling him he would bring it back, and he said that he will bring it back.
I don't believe you. I think you're full of baloney. I think you entered into a scam with him because you knew he had a suspended license, whether you liked him or not, whatever. I have no idea, nor do I care. But you went, you drove this car out, he took possession of the car, he drove the car, he had an accident, and now you're stuck with the payments. That's what happened. And then a week after the accident, you reported stolen to the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The word you're saying to me. Not a word.
Saavedra is suing Adam Rivas for taking and wrecking her car. In a separate suit, the Benedettos are suing Teresa and Adam for damage to their classic Nissan 300ZX.
Now, can I say, why would I honestly give anybody my car keys, you know, a brand new car?
Because, Ms. Saavedra, I do not believe you had any intention of this being your car. I believe that the intention was for Mr. Rivas to use this car to make the payments on the car because he had no license, and he got you as a patsy to put the car in your name. That's what I think happened. And then when you realized that the car was in an accident and you were going to be in real trouble, a week later you reported it stolen to the police. You didn't report it stolen a week before the accident. Let me see a copy of the police report.
He would go to my house honking, screaming my name.
I don't believe a word you're saying to me. Not a word, Ms. Saavedra. I think you got yourself caught in a scam. You did the wrong thing. That doesn't mean you're relieved, sir. You still drove this car. You had no right driving any car because you had a suspended license.
Yes, I understand that.
Well, where are you going to accept responsibility for that?
Take responsibilities for the car accident.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
It's not what you say here. You tell me that this lady was driving. She was drunk. That's what you said in your answer. I'm going to get to that case in a minute.
Okay.
What about this lady's car? We're not on this case yet. You drove the car. You had no insurance?
No.
Why didn't you pay for insurance?
Because,
Because it wasn't your car.
Correct.
Because it was in her name.
Correct.
Right? So the only one who's going to get stiffed was her, right?
Correct.
How much was the car?
Total cost of the car was $18,569.96.
And you had no insurance?
No.
Well, maximum that this court is allowed to award you, let me see those papers, Bert, please, sure, is $5,000. You're on the books for the rest. Do you work?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet?
No.
How old are you?
22.
When are you going to start to work?
I just moved and I quit my job and I moved and I'm looking for a job now.
What about you?
Not right now. Not at the moment.
Who feeds you?
Myself.
That means that somebody's got to give you money for food.
Well, I'm living under my parents' roof right now, so.
How old are you?
21.
What do your parents do for a living?
They own their own landscaping company.
Good. Are you disabled?
No, no, ma'am.
Then you work for them in cash. Because if they own their own landscaping business, I guarantee you I'm going to find a couple of people whose lawn you mow. Mr. Rivas, do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
On your best day, you're not as smart as we are on our worst day. How many people do you think I'm going to find whose lawns you mow, Mr. Rivas?
Not too sure. Not too sure, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Your father mows people's lawns?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people does he have working for him?
About 10.
Are you on the books of the company? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you're on the books of the company, then you get money. What's the name of the company?
Rivas Landscaping.
Rivas Landscaping. Very easy.
Yes, ma'am.
You're her $5,000, sir. But it doesn't go to her, it goes to the finance company. Now you can stand over next to him. Because now you're a co-defendant as the owner of the car, who I just figured out was full of baloney when she said the car was stolen. The car was part of a scam. You didn't think it was a scam because you're too young and stupid, but it was a scam. Now you may stand up. Mr. and Mrs. Benedetto?
Yes, ma'am.
On what day was the accident? The 7th of May?
May 7th.
We either... No. You want to tell me what happened?
I pulled out of the gas station. When I get gas, I usually toss my wallet in the car. Well, when I got in the car, I drove up the street, and I didn't see my wallet there, so I figured it had bounced. So I pulled over, and when I pulled over... where? I pulled over on the side of the street.
Is it a street where you can pull over? It's where cars are parked?
Right, where you parking. So I pulled over and got out of the car, went around to see if the wallet had fallen off to the side, because if it hadn't and it had bounced off, then I needed to go back to the gas station. So I put my knee on the seat, and next thing, there was just this big bang on the side of the car, and the car started to go over. In the meantime, I went over to the side as the car is going over.
You weren't in the car? You weren't in the driver's seat?
No, I was in the passenger seat.
You weren't moving at the time?
No, I was not moving.
What happened to your car?
It went over on the side. And
Can I see pictures of it?
Sure.
Who else was in the car with you?
Nobody. It was just me. I was on my way to meet my dad.
This is your husband?
That's my husband, yes.
So he is the co-owner of the car?
He is the owner.
Ooh, that's a nasty hit. I'm listening.
From what I recall, I was going straight down Devonshire, and
where were you going, sir?
I was going home.
From where?
From one of my friend's house down the street.
What were you doing there?
I was just chilling.
What?
Chilling, kicking it.
Oh, your parents must be so proud of you. Go ahead.
And I was driving down Devonshire, and she just pulled out, because I was going straight on, and she pulled out, and I hit her.
Well, she pulled out and you hit her, so you would have hit her in the front. You hit at the rear of her car. How could you have hit her in the rear if she was pulling out?
Because I guess she was already on her way, and I guess I hit her in the back.
So if she's already on her way and you hit her in the rear, that means you weren't looking where you were going. Maybe you were chilling a little too much, kicking it a little too much with your friend. Maybe you ought to get out there more often and mow a few more lawns. Mr. Rivas, from Rivas Landscaping. When was the last time you filed tax return? Is not an answer.
I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever filed them.
The police came to the scene, Mr. Rivas. You were arrested, were you not?
Yes, I was.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Rivas?
I was arrested for driving without a license.
What else?
That's it.
You have any other warrants outstanding when you were arrested? Is not an answer, Mr. Rivas.
Yes, I did. I did.
Mr. Rivas, you're still trying to get over on me, sir. I've been a judge longer than you've been born. You think you're an unusual story? You're not. You're just a punk who caused a great deal of trouble for a lot of people because you're not entitled to drive a car if your license is suspended and you have no license. You conned this lady, so now she's in the hole for $13,000. You injured these people their property. You almost killed her. There's a reason why the government didn't give you a license, sir. Because you shouldn't have one. Because you're an irresponsible baby. Oh. Are you an only child?
No, I'm actually the middle child.
There's also a problem with that. Were you able to have the car fixed, or was it totaled?
It was totaled.
What kind of car was it?
1987 300ZX.
Do you have a Blue Book value for the car?
Blue Book is roughly 3,500.
Can I see that?
I'm sorry, that was 3,400.
Can I see
And
that?
I also have some comparables.
That's all right. I know the car.
I should mention that we did a great deal of additional work in that, the alternator, the water pump.
He's an idiot. What do you want me to do? I can't execute him. The only thing I can do for you is humiliate him a little bit. I give you a judgment. What else am I going to do with him? His parents are not going to be proud of him. Revis Landscaping and the people whose lawns he mowed are going to know that he's an idiot. If they see him driving around in a truck, they're going to know he has no right to do that. Anybody who lives in the neighborhood, when they see him driving a car, is going to call the police now and say there's somebody driving without a license, right? Do you understand?
I understand.
There was a reason he was late for court today, right? He was thinking, am I going to be dumb enough to go to court? What's going to happen to me? He had no clue how far it was going to go.
Hopefully he didn't hit anybody else's car on the way over.
Hopefully, sir. Hopefully. I'm not so sure. You got lost on your way coming here, Mr. Rivas?
No, I didn't.
How did you get here today? Is not an answer.
I got a ride.
You got a ride? Who drove you? There's a guard outside. Who drove you?
I don't remember her name.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500, which is a little over the Blue Book value of your car. You are a menace, sir. You don't deserve to be behind the wheel of a car. If anybody in your neighborhood, if anybody in the vicinity sees you behind the wheel of a car, I assume you do not have your driver's license?
No.
Is that right? Call the police, everyone. He's a menace and does not have a driver's license, nor will he probably get one for a very long time. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I felt...
In the matter of Khan versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
What's your first name?
Amanda.
Yours?
Rashonda.
Ms. Khan, you don't know anything about this other than the fact that your daughter was injured. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
And you weren't there, so you have no idea what was going on in school that day between your niece and the plaintiff's daughter. Is that right?
Yes.
So you can sit down. The girls remain standing. Okay. Amanda, how long have you been going to school with Rashonda?
I think 2 years.
Is that about right?
Ever since we started school.
How many years ago was that?
1 year. I just met her this year.
Were you friends?
Yes.
Were you friends?
Yes.
Now, your claim is that she assaulted your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this is all about. So before that day, had you had any trouble with Rashonda?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, usually she started calling me names.
What kind of names would she call you?
She called me stupid, ugly, 4 eyes.
Did you have any friends in class?
Only one friend.
And what about Rashonda? Did she have friends?
Yes.
Were they nice to you or were they mean to you also?
They was mean to me also.
Why did you call Amanda names?
No, that didn't hit.
Look. Look at me.
No, I didn't call her names like that.
What names did you call her?
None.
Huh?
None.
I believe her when she says you called her names.
No, I did not call her names.
I believe her when she says you called her names. Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because this young lady wouldn't stand up there and embarrass herself by saying to me that you called her stupid.
Okay.
Unless you called her names. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when I ask you a question, you're going to give me a truthful answer. You're not going to make up a story. Otherwise, things are not going to go well for you. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you again. Why would you call her names? Answer the question.
I did not call her any names.
Did your friends call her names?
No.
Why would you think this little girl would tell me that somebody called her stupid and 4 eyes and all kinds of nasty names if nobody called her those names?
I don't know.
Really? All right, tell me what happened next.
She got a butterfly pen of mine. It's this right here.
How did she get it?
It was inside my school bag. It was open.
Where was your school bag?
It was under my desk.
Did you see her take it out of your school bag?
No.
So what happened when you saw her with your butterfly pen?
I said, Rashonda, can I please have my pen? I called her 4 times to get her.
Where did she go when she took your pen?
She went over to a nest couple of desks. And I told Rashonda, "Could you please get off my pen?"
And what did she say?
And she kept on ignoring me. She didn't even say nothing.
So what did you do?
I walked up to her and snatched it away from her.
You snatched the pen out of her hand?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then that's when she ducked down under my desk, got these books right here, and hold it up in the air like this. And then I was trying to jump up to get it, and then that's when I finally got it. That's when she punched me on the head. That's where I found her before I started crying.
Hear your version of the story.
Yes, it was the next period, and our math teacher was coming, and he asked us to partner up with people. So it was her, Patricia, and some boys over there. So Patricia said, "Rashonda, can you come here?" And I was like, "Yes." And it was a pen on the desk, and I thought it was Patricia's because she had a pen like that before. So I picked it.
Patricia had a pen like that before when?
When she first came to the classroom.
What day?
I don't know.
Did Patricia tell you could take her pen?
No.
The attitude's just going to get worse. She live with you?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. So you took a pen that didn't belong to you, whether it belonged to Patricia or Amanda, and you took it off a desk.
Yes.
Whose desk was it?
It was a boy's desk, but he wasn't there. He was absent, and then Eugene was sitting in the desk. So
you're telling me Eugene had this pink pen on his desk? Rashonda, are you telling me that a boy was using... Pick up the pen. Shh. A boy was using that pen? Look at the pen. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
So you picked up the pen because it was a boy's pen, but you thought it was Patricia's. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And then what happened?
So then I picked up a book off the floor.
You picked what?
Book off the floor.
What book?
It was like a regular book.
What do you mean you picked it up off the floor? What'd you pick it up off the floor for?
Because I wanted to, so I picked it up off the floor.
Just a second, no, I don't understand. Was it your book that you picked up off the floor or somebody else's book that you picked up off the floor?
It was a book.
Was it your book or somebody else's book?
It was my book.
So you picked up your book off the floor?
Yes.
And what did you do with it when you picked it up off the floor?
I had it in my hand. She snatched it.
Just a second, you held it in your hand?
Yes.
You held your book in your hand?
Yes.
And she snatched it out of your hand? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Where was the pen?
In my hand.
Well, which hand were you holding the pen in? Show me. And which hand were you holding the book in? And where were you holding the book?
She snatched the pen out of my hand, and then I picked up the book. She snatched it. She pushed me once.
Oh, here we go. So you picked up the book after she snatched the pen out of your hand?
Yes.
But you told me it was your book? Or was it her book?
It was my book.
So you're telling me that you were protecting your book?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's the same story you told me in your answer, that you picked up your book? Or you think it was a different story? You get where I'm going. You're a fibber. Now, I hope your aunt knows that. And I hope your aunt knows that you have attitude. Bad attitude. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. Good. Because you really have to do something about it now before it gets out of hand. Do you understand that? You could stand up, please.
Well, it really seems like y'all getting on her side and y'all picking on me.
No, we're only picking on you here, Rashonda, because you didn't tell the truth, my dear.
She didn't
I
either.
told you, when we start, get your hands off your hips. Don't attitude here. And you know whose that is?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want people to...
Was teased and assaulted by classmate Roshonda Williams. Amanda claims Roshonda socked her in the face during class.
Rashonda, I believe that you were picking on her. I believe that you called her names. And if you had said to me, when I asked you the question at the beginning, yeah, I did call her names. I'm sorry, it wasn't the right thing to do. But I didn't hit her. Or, I'm sorry I called her names and we got into an argument. She pushed me and I hit her, so it was really a fair fight. That I accept. But when you start out lying and telling me that you didn't call her names, and I know you did, then we get off on the wrong foot. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does she live with you? Are you her
Yes.
guardian?
I'm not her guardian. But
Who is?
My grandmother.
But she couldn't come because of medical reasons.
But you live in the household?
Yes.
Who goes to school when she has a problem?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes my grandma do.
How many times have you gone to school because she's had a problem?
Not a lot.
How many?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. You? And how many times has your grandmother gone to school because she's had a problem?
I don't know. I work in the day, so.
Well, you said sometimes you, sometimes her
Yeah.
grandmother.
Yeah.
So her grandmother had to go twice?
Maybe. I don't know.
You went 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's too many times. She's got a bad attitude.
I know.
Good. Is she getting help for her bad attitude?
Yes.
What kind of help is she getting for her bad attitude?
She go to, like, after-school programs and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to make it seem like she's a good kid. Because every kid, you know, go through things.
No.
Well, majority of the kids do.
No, you're wrong.
Well.
No, you're wrong. Some kids can be cruel. Some kids can be unkind. But the majority of the kids who go to school don't have to have a parent or guardian come up 6 times at least because they're having trouble. And the majority of the kids don't have... She went to a police mediation about this?
Yeah.
What? How many kids do you think that are her
Well,
age?
it was unnecessary, though. I have a paper that says that she hit her first.
Let me see.
And I was defending myself.
Let me see. You have a paper that said she hit her first?
She pushed...
That's a different story.
All right, but she still put her hands on her first, though.
She stole her property.
She didn't steal it. She picked
stole...
it up off the desk.
Listen to me. What she did was, you were getting along much better when you understood the dynamics of what was going on here.
And I...
Miss Attitude picked up the pen knowing it belonged to her. She asked for it back. Miss Attitude didn't give it to her back. She grabbed it away from her and probably pushed her. I agree with you. That's what happened. Then she went down and picked up the books. Those books that belong to Amanda. Whose books are those?
Mine.
Okay, she picked not her books. Do you understand? So books it was. She thought about it and she said, I picked up my book. Well, that doesn't even make sense. Why would she pick up her book and hold it over her head? Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is she's not only got attitude, but she's stupid. Because she can't think of why, logically, she would want to hold her book over her head.
But do you think that was right?
Listen to me. She was picking on her.
But
listen to me. She was picking on her. As part of the picking on her process, she took her pen and didn't return it. It was
She got it, so how I return it if she got it?
Don't speak to me until I speak to you. Do we understand each other? You may be able to get away with your attitude with your grandmother, maybe with your aunt, maybe with your friends. You do not get away with that attitude with me. It's nice to be nice to people. And if somebody you think isn't as smart as you are, doesn't have the friends you do, the nice thing is not to pick on them. The nice thing is to try to be nice to them, because that's what you would like. You see, you don't want people to be nasty to you like I am, right? You don't want people to make fun of you like I am. You want people to be nice to you. And if you want people to be nice to you, you have to be nice to them. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Good. Now you can stand up. Can I see the medical report, please?
Your Honor, there wasn't any medical bills, but she has to be taught that she cannot bully my daughter.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. As much as I explained it to her, she now understands for today that you can either be nice to people or you can be unkind to people.
Yes, ma'am.
I've explained that lesson to her. I've just been very unkind to her for the last 15 minutes.
Yes,
she doesn't like it. So she has a choice. And the choice for the rest of her life is, if you are in what you consider, my dear, a superior position, smarter, have more friends, more popular and whatever, you can make somebody else's life miserable, or you can say, I want to be kind. I could have been kind to you. I chose not to be. You now have the drill. She's a little girl, and she may not be as smart as you are. She may not be as popular as you are. She may not have the kind of friends that you do. That means that you're supposed to go the extra mile to be nice to her. Put your hand down. Nice to her. I want you to remember how badly you feel right now. Can't control your crying. Can't control how you feel. Because that's the way somebody who you tease and make fun of, they feel all the time. Do you understand? Yes. Good. You had no out-of-pocket expenses?
That's correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $10. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm elated. Judge Judy, you rock.
I think Judge Judy is off the hook.
Is suing her daughter's ex-fiancé, Benjamin Chapman, for a loan to buy an engagement ring. Benjamin says Doreen's daughter refuses to return the ring.
Have a seat, because this case is not going to take too long. I said that the last time. I promise you this time it's going to go faster, Bird.
Okay.
Miss Novello used to be engaged to your daughter.
That's correct.
According to your complaint, he called and asked you if you would...
He didn't call.
Or you spoke to him.
Yes.
That's really not important. You spoke to him, and he wanted to buy your daughter a ring, asked you if you would put it on your credit card because he didn't have the money.
Correct.
You did?
Yes.
He bought her a ring. I assume that's the ring.
Right here.
Good. I'd like to see it just because I'm a little bit of a...
This is after an 8-year relationship.
I don't care how many years they were together, madam. That's not my problem. And it is, as a matter of fact, a lovely ring.
Yes, it is. He
Very
picked it out
nice.
himself. He did good.
Very nice. He did very well. Well, the ring lasted longer than the engagement. The engagement is over. You want him to finish paying for the ring. He made only a couple of payments. And Mr. Chapman says, pardon me, if I speak to you, Mr. Chapman, I'll be more than happy to pay for the ring, because that was my arrangement with you. I want the ring back, right?
Yes.
And you say, that's not up to me. My daughter won't give him the ring back because she says it was a gift. But that has absolutely nothing to do with his contract with me to pay for the ring.
That's correct.
Wrong!
Wrong?
Yes, my darling. You see to it that your daughter returns the ring to him. When your daughter returns the ring to him, you can come back. Until that time, what I suggest you do is take that ring, which is now in your possession, sell it, and pay off your credit card, or as much of it as you can. If you want Mr. Chapman to pay for that ring, you give him the ring back. Do you understand?
It's not my property, though.
Listen to me. May not be your property. Where does your daughter live?
With me.
You got it. Do you understand where we're coming from, my dear? You have to do the right thing. What happens in court is you do the right thing.
Right.
Your daughter's supposed to return the engagement ring to Mr. Chapman because the engagement ring was given in contemplation of getting married. They're not going to get married. If he had purchased the ring himself without you, I would have returned the ring to him in a second. You can't come to court and get through the back door what I wouldn't give you through the front door, which is the ring and the money. Forget it. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. The matter of Paul versus Page. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Paul, the defendant is currently married to your former wife. They are in the process of divorcing, or has that divorce been finalized?
We're temporarily separated right now.
And it is your claim that on a particular morning, you were spending the night with your former wife and children. Mr. Page came to the house, and it is your claim, assaulted you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Mr. Page says you were the one who threw the first punch, and that if you were injured, as was he, that's your fault, because you were the one who became aggressive initially. Now, is this your ex-wife?
Yes, it is.
How long have you been divorced?
12 years.
You have children?
Yes, we do. We have 3 children.
How old are they?
13, 14, 16.
And they live with your former wife?
Yes, they do.
On what day did this assault occur?
September 22nd of 05.
And when had you come to your former wife's house?
The night before, 21st.
Was that the first time that you spent the night there?
Not.
When, Mr. Page, did you marry Mrs. Page?
February of 04.
And when did you separate?
Actually, February of 05.
Okay. From February of 2005 to September 2005, did you ever spend the night in the house?
Actually, I did.
So prior to September 22nd, 2005, when was the last time that you spent the night with Mrs. Page?
Probably in June, somewhere around that time.
So for 3 months you had not?
No, but we kept in constant contact with each other.
And the purpose of that was?
Just to talk over situations with us. We were trying to work on our marriage. Since John Paul here came and disrupted everything, we were trying to get everything back together.
Mr. Paul, I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding your going to your ex-wife's house on the 21st of September.
She called me. She asked me to come over. I had bought a computer for our children. She wanted me to set up the computer. I came over, set up the computer.
When you slept at the house, did you sleep in the same room as your former wife?
Yes, I did.
Did you know that she and Mr. Page were at least in communication with each other?
No, I was not aware of that.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me what happened.
I put the computer together with her and my children. We had dinner. We woke up the next morning. She went to the kitchen, and I was in the bedroom. At approximately 11 o'clock, there was a knock on the door.
What day of the week was this?
I believe it was Thursday.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a computer technician.
You don't work Monday through Friday?
I was off that day.
Why are you shaking your head?
He hasn't worked in the last 6 years, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's his opinion.
Shh. What do? You freelance for somebody?
Yes.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
2004.
Or how do you support yourself, sir?
Right now, I have an inheritance I've been living off of and working part-time.
Pay child support?
Yes, I do.
How much?
At this time, it's not through the court. I support the children and Shelley. I have continually since they were married and before that. I was always supporting them.
No, you haven't.
Shh. Mr. Page.
Sorry, Judge.
When you were divorced, the court set an order of support. What was the order of support for your 3 children?
$200 apiece.
When was the last time you paid your wife $600?
Probably within the last 2 months.
Is that right?
Don't keep record of it.
Stand up. Your last name is Page?
Yes.
Step over there, please. I'm going to ask you a question. I want an answer. When was the last time you got child support from your former husband for your 3 children?
It's not consistent. It's when I need something, he will give me money for it.
Well, was it 2 months ago? Was it 6 months ago? Was it a year ago?
A few months ago, a couple months ago. Like I said, when I need something, he gives me the money for it.
Good.
It's not like he gives me just $600 a month on a certain day.
No, well, that's unfortunate for your children. When you were married to Mr. Page, who was supporting your children? It's not an answer.
We were.
Who's we?
I was getting income.
From what?
I was on disability at the time, and Walter was contributing to the house, and so was John.
Sit down. All right, Mr. Paul. We're about 11 o'clock in the morning. You're coming out of the bedroom. Your former wife is in the kitchen. And tell me what happened.
There was a knock on the door. I answered the door. Mr. Page was at the door. I asked him what he was doing here. He said, it's none of your business. He forced his way into the door and attacked me.
Okay, tell me how he attacked you.
He punched me in the face, punched me in the abdomen, continued to punch me. I defended myself.
How did you defend yourself?
By punching him back.
Where did you punch him?
I believe in the abdomen or the body and the face. I have a police...
He's present?
They were called after the incident.
Mr. Paul, you may be able to hoodwink her. Me, you can't.
Okay.
Were the police there when this happened?
No, they weren't.
And your police report contains a chronology, according to you, of what happened.
That's correct.
I will look at it. So
Okay.
this is your statement to the police.
Yes, it is.
Fine. So according to you, he hit you first.
Yes.
And after he hit you, what did he do?
By that time, I was bleeding. I had contusions to my face, so I'm not sure where he went or what he did. I have a medical report also, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it. Mr. Paul, when did your former wife stop drinking that day?
I was not aware that she was drinking at all.
Well, the police were aware of it, sir. Shelley, that is your former wife, is
That's
it not?
correct.
Was extremely, according to the police report, intoxicated. Not just intoxicated, extremely intoxicated. Was she drinking alone?
If she was drinking at all, it must have been alone, yes.
But you were with her from the daytime of the 21st through the night.
Yes.
And you slept together and then woke up, according to you.
Yes.
So if she was extremely intoxicated, she would have had to have started to drink again in the morning.
I guess that's correct.
Step up. Since I'm not certain, Miss Page, that you would recognize the truth if it came up and shook your hand, I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I think you will be able to answer for me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is not some...
His ex-wife's estranged husband attacked him in a fit of jealous rage. Walter Page claims John is abusive.
Now, what is your mother's name?
My mother's name is Margot.
And do you have a reasonable relationship with her? When was the last time you spoke to her?
The last time I spoke to her was 2 days ago.
Mr. Page says that your mother spoke with him and said, I haven't spoken to Shelley in a while, which is the reason that he stopped by your house to check on you. Had your mother told you subsequently that she asked Walter to come by and check on you?
No, she didn't.
Did you ask her?
No, I didn't.
Well, that would appear to be very ridiculous, wouldn't it? If your husband says, I came by to check on you because I spoke to your mother and your mother said she hadn't spoken to you, it would seem to me that a normal person, somebody operating with at least 2 cells, would call their mother and say, did you ask Walter to come by and check on me? And you're telling me that you never had that conversation with her.
Not prior to him coming
I'm
over.
not talking about prior, I'm talking about afterwards.
Oh, afterwards, yes, I did.
And afterwards, she told you that she asked him to come by and check on you.
No, what she had said was Walter had came by and asked if she had spoken with me, and she said she hadn't heard from me in a couple days, and I guess Walter came by that morning
to check and see if you were okay.
I guess.
Good.
That's what he
now
said.
you can sit down. Now, do you have the police report, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Which one would you like to see? I have lots of them.
I want to see the one specifically referring to this incident, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure he has lots of them, Your Honor. The fact that he's
a lot of reason why I have them.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You're not helping yourself.
Due to the fact that he... Okay.
What's the nature of your former wife's disability? Why was she collecting disability?
I have no idea.
Why were you collecting disability?
I was on disability at the time because I was separating from him, and I was under a lot of emotional stress.
Who was giving you disability for that?
The doctor is the one that filled out the disability report.
Stand up. Doctor prescribed medication for this disability?
Yes, she did.
What kind of medication?
It was Prozac at the time.
So on the 22nd of September, you were taking medication?
Yes, I was.
Police officer says you were extremely intoxicated. You were drinking?
I wasn't extremely intoxicated. I had had one glass of wine.
Police officer said you were extremely... I'm reading from the police report.
Well, I wasn't.
When did you have the glass of wine? After you woke up in the morning?
Approximately around 11:30. I was upset. There was a family member that was not doing very well.
So that consoled you. Had you taken your Prozac prior to taking the glass of wine?
Yes, I did.
Sit down. This is not somebody that you should be fighting over. This is somebody that you should be saying goodbye to. It sounds to me like she was playing both of you like a fiddle. There is no question in my mind, Mr. Paul, that your former wife was with you at the same time that she was with her soon-to-be ex-husband. No question. Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Get out. You don't need the trouble.
I know.
Now, that doesn't excuse your bad behavior. And I believe that when he came knocking at the door, your initial response to him was aggressive. And his initial response to finding you there was sort of outrage. The truth was, she was playing you both like a fiddle. She needed him to do something. She needed you to do others. He's not paying much support. You were footing some of the bills in the house, you know?
So was
knows
I.
how to work the... Not enough.
Oh,
well, sir,
not at all.
unless your inheritance was substantial.
And it was.
Good. You want to tell me what it was? The courts would like to know.
$80,000.
Sir, listen to me. You know how long $80,000 goes to take care of 3 teenage children?
Oh, it goes real fast.
Like this.
Yeah.
Gone.
It's gone.
Gone.
Oh, yeah.
So in the 12 years, sir, that you've been divorced from your wife, she can't remember the time when you gave her the $600 a month that you were supposed to give her for the support of your 3 children.
But we were living together the whole time, and I did support them. I did work.
Well, if you were living together the whole time...
Up until 2003.
Mr. Paul, if you were living together the whole time, was there any other subsidy money coming into the house?
Not that I'm aware of. I worked, she worked.
That's a very good way of putting it, not that I'm aware of. Listen, you both behaved badly that morning. According to the police report, you were both injured. You both had cuts and bruises. There was lots of blood emanating from both of you. There were no arrests made, is that right? No arrests made?
No, there was charges. There were charges against Mr. Page brought up.
Well, you made charges, sir, but the police did an investigation, and they chose to arrest nobody. And I choose to find nobody at fault, because the person that's at fault, Mr. Paul, is her. She put the 2 of you in a situation where neither one of you knew that the other one was still involved in the picture. And both of you responded with almost an animalistic response on the morning of September 22nd. He never expected to find you there, and you never expected to see him coming into your house, what you considered your house. And according to you, had not been drinking at all, despite the fact that the police found that your ex-wife, with whom you claimed to have spent the entire evening and the entire morning, was very intoxicated. I don't understand that, sir. So your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Jenna versus Meredith. Step forward, please.
Eliza Jenna is suing her sister, Treva Meredith, for collect calls and money loaned while Treva was in jail. She is also suing for the cost of buying clothes for her daughter.
Miss Jenna, the defendant is your sister.
Correct.
And it is your claim that while she was incarcerated and immediately preceding her incarceration, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes.
Some involved taking care of her daughter, and some involved putting money, when she was in fact in jail, in her account so that she would have certain amenities while she was in jail. Now, she says that there was never an agreement for her to pay you back.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you in jail for?
For escape.
Escape from where?
I was put into custody in the courtroom, and I escaped out of the courtroom.
What was the underlying charge that you were in court for?
Forgery.
Had that case been tried?
Yes.
Were you sentenced?
Yes.
To what?
Probation for 5 years.
And you violated probation?
No, ma'am.
Well, then why would you escape if you were sentenced to probation?
They had revoked a bond on a different case.
So that you had a case in addition to the forgery?
Yeah, there's cases in 3 different counties. There was.
So you had lots of trouble?
Yes.
You have a drug problem?
I'm recovering.
How old is your daughter?
14 tomorrow.
Who is this?
This is my mother.
Also your mother?
Yes.
All right, Miss Meredith, how much would you say your sister laid out for you while you were in jail?
Not really sure. I was in jail for 10 weeks.
Did you always have money in your
Yes,
account?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Had your mother put in money in your account?
No, ma'am.
Any friends put in money in your account?
No, ma'am.
So the only one sister?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did you put in her account?
About $1,200, I believe.
Well, do you have records? You
Yes,
can't
I
say
do.
that. That's what we're in court for.
Right here are all the records, all the receipts. She had to have some dental work done and to go to the doctor.
Why should she pay that for you?
She had offered to pay for me before I turned myself in. She offered to help me out while I was in there.
So how are you going to pay her back?
I just now started back to work. I haven't had no income since I've been out of jail.
When did you start working?
I just started working last week.
Where?
I work through a temp service at a plastic company.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mother, me and my 4-year-old son.
Where's your daughter?
She's in a group home.
Any particular reason?
She was living with her father and there was problems there. So she was put into foster care and then eventually put into the group home.
Well, she came to live with me.
But she went
In
to her
between
dad after that.
She had called and asked if I would take her last January.
I got it. Yeah, she stayed with you for a relatively short time.
The first time, and then the second time she was with me for a few weeks.
Is she a troubled child? Is
Yes,
that why
she
she's in a
is.
group home?
Yeah, she needs some extremely intense therapy.
Miss Meredith, how long have you had a drug problem?
For a lot of years.
When you say you are recovering, are you in a program now?
I might go to counseling, or I'm starting counseling, and I go to NA classes.
How often do you go?
I'm twice a week, and that's on my own. It's not required through probation or anything. That's strictly on my own.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, Ms. Jones?
Yeah, I want my sister to know that I care about her and I want her to get better, and that's one of the reasons I brought her. She needs to learn to take responsibility.
She convinced you to turn yourself in?
Yes.
How'd you just walk out of jail?
Kind of ran out of jail.
They passed a law since then. It's called the Meredith Law, and now they shackle all the prisoners when they're convicted.
Well, I'm certain that all of your sisters don't appreciate that.
Well, luckily it's her married name, so we don't have the same name, so.
All right. I wish you good luck. Stick with it.
Thank you.
You know, you have a 14-year-old who probably at some point is going to be in dire straits and in need of some support. And your 4-year-old certainly deserves stability. So
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you've been clean for 8 months, congratulations.
Thank
Stay
you.
with it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,445.
Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I was hoping that.
Out of Coates versus Grace. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated and have a seat.
Mr. Coates, the defendant is your former wife, and you have a child together.
That's correct.
How old is your child?
He's 5.
It is your claim that your former wife abducted the child out of the jurisdiction.
That's correct.
And that cost you a substantial amount of money in order to regain the rights that had been provided for you pursuant to your judgment of divorce, your visitation rights. You want your former wife to compensate you for all you went through and all your expenses in securing your son back in this jurisdiction. The former wife says that substantial amount of time went by. You never contacted her. She said she moved to Las Vegas from California when she hadn't heard from you. She subsequently moved back, but she is counterclaiming that you made false reports to Child Protective Services about her. You never showed up for a hearing, so she's counterclaiming for a whole bunch of expenses. Okay. When were you married, Mr. Coates, and when were you divorced?
Married in 2001,
What month?
August?
Why are you asking me? I wasn't there.
I don't
It was May.
It was May, sorry.
When did you separate?
11 months after that.
When were you divorced?
It went through in August of 2004.
I wasn't there either.
Yeah.
Is that right?
August 2004, it was final.
And that was all done in the state of California?
Yes, correct.
That's where the child was born?
Yes.
Was it a contested or an uncontested divorce?
It went into default. I was never served. I never knew that there was even a divorce proceeding in place.
Your Honor, that's
Shh,
not...
just one second. Oh, I have some questions about that. It was default. You never knew that there was a divorce.
I was
Is that
never
what you're
served in
saying?
court.
And you were
Yes.
never served.
That's correct.
Well, I assume you woke up one morning and said, my wife and son aren't here anymore. So you knew you were separated.
We were separated, yes. We still had contact.
Regularly?
Yes. I would pick him up from school. He would stay at my home.
Every week?
So... Yeah, every week.
And you're telling me that you were never served with a copy of the judgment of divorce?
No.
Never served with a summons and complaint?
No.
When did you find out that you were divorced?
After it had already gone into default.
And when was that?
That was in October, November 2005.
Did you contest that and say, I had not been served?
Yes, I wanted there to be a custody and visitation set.
What about child support?
I received notification that it was going to be garnished. I never received a child support order.
Mr. Coates, have you been moving around a lot, sir?
No.
Well, it's sort of interesting because you got a support order and you weren't served with it. You got divorced and you weren't served with it. You're just one glaring example of a justice system failed, Mr. Coates. Isn't it interesting? You filed this lawsuit against your former wife. Was she served?
Yes, she was.
Did she appear?
Not the first time, no. Not
She's
to
here
the-
now.
She's here now. I didn't know where she was until the court contacted her and notified me where she was.
If you didn't know where she was, how could she be served?
I knew her last known address.
But she didn't live there.
I had tried to contact her. I'd sent her letters, multiple letters, contacting her.
All right, Mr. Coates, let's stop playing with each other, sir.
Okay.
You know, in this game of playing with Mr. Coates, you know who's going to win?
Yes.
Right. What's your child support order, sir?
It's for $350 every 2 weeks.
Why are you asking me? I don't pay it. You pay it. Everything ends in a question mark.
I'm not asking. I'm just saying.
When did that start to come out of your check?
In 2003.
When in 2003?
June?
A year after you separated?
Yes.
Well, how much support were you paying for the year that you were separated?
I was giving her over $500 a month.
Ms. Grace, between June 2002 and June of 2003, was Mr. Coates sending you $500 plus a month for the support of your son?
No, and the garnishment started in February of 2003.
How much was he sending you between June of 2002 and February of 2003?
Nothing consistent. He didn't work a lot of that time, so when he didn't work, I didn't get any money from him. When he did, he would give me $200 every 2 weeks. And, Your Honor, I haven't received a child support payment since July of 2005.
Do you know why the garnishment stopped?
Yes.
Why?
I was changing jobs from Wellpoint to Washington Mutual. I had informed her that the services would stop and that I was bringing charges to the child support and district attorney's office, and I was notifying her that she wouldn't be receiving child support until we went to court for custody and visitation.
Just a second. You had no intention of supporting your child?
I didn't say I had no intention, but I was...
Well, how much did you send between July and December?
Let's see, she received $2,150
When?
last. That was last December.
Listen to me very
I'm sorry,
carefully.
specific date?
July, August, September, October, November. How much money did she receive? July?
July?
Nothing.
Nothing.
August?
Nothing.
September?
I had nowhere to send it.
September?
September, nothing.
October?
Nothing.
November?
Nothing.
When did you relocate to Nevada?
August 21st, 2005.
Put your hand down. Why did you stop sending money in July?
That's when I was changing jobs. They were garnishing my wages, so they just would take the check out and send it.
Did you notify your new job that they should execute a wage attachment and start sending her money?
No, I did not notify. I didn't know I was supposed to notify them.
Well, you knew when you changed jobs that they weren't taking the money out of your salary, Mr. Coates. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why didn't you take that money when she was still here and send it to her?
I was not aware that she was still here. I did not know where she was.
No,
I had made
that's not
several
true.
attempts. I'd sent letters to her house several times with certified return receipt and had no reply.
Just a second. How far did you live from where she lived?
Just maybe 30, 40 minutes away. Maybe?
Take a ride. Take a ride. Don't you want to see your son?
Yes.
So why didn't you take a ride?
To her residence?
Yes.
That didn't seem very safe to me.
Why not?
I had not received any notification from her at the time that I went to...
Well, when was the last time you saw your son?
I saw him October 31st.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
We're not talking about
Prior
that.
to that?
So we're talking about before that.
August,
we're
when I
talking
picked
about
him up.
before she left for Nevada.
I didn't know where she was prior to when she left for Nevada.
Prior to
Prior-
leaving for Nevada, she lived in the same place, sir.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, when did you see your son?
After April, I had not seen him.
Why not?
See him at the daycare. They called the actually LAPD.
So you saw him in April.
Yes. I picked him up for his birthday week
Where did you pick him up from?
from the daycare.
So you had no trouble?
No.
Good. When did you have trouble at the daycare?
When I tried to pick him up again to visit him. after she had called the police when I picked him up the original time, saying that I'd kidnapped him when I...
Did you have permission to pick him up from the daycare?
I didn't know I needed permission. I had chose the daycare.
Were you divorced at the time?
Yes. It still stated equal and reasonable visitation, which I thought that was reasonable, that I see my child.
Did you now?
Yes.
Did you call her before you picked him up on his birthday?
No,
No.
not.
Do you see in this game that you're playing with me, you're not going to win?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you did was a little self-help.
I had made several attempts to go...
Listen, Mr. Coates, you may be able to fool around with some people. You're not going to fool around with me. I have 35 years in this business.
Play the PDSA Weekly Lottery and you can be a winner like... Ex-wife Shannon Grace unlawfully moved their son out of state. Shannon is countersuing, claiming Brandon made false accusations to Child Protective Services.
Mr. Coates, a parent who wants to see their child and who doesn't see their child for a week goes to court, files a petition, says, I haven't seen my child in a week. I want to see my child. You went to the daycare in April, picked the child up once. She called the police. She said, he has no right to go there and pick up the child without even contacting me first. She's absolutely right. Put your hand down.
Okay, sorry.
Does it sound like you're having a problem yet?
No,
I'll get to you in a minute. When did you go to court after that, seeking immediate relief so that you could get a fixed order?
I did attempt to seek immediate relief. I have several attempts made. One was in September.
I'm not talking September, sir. This was you're talking to me in April.
I had tried to contact
April,
her
May, June,
personally.
July, August. I'm saying a parent wakes up and says, I haven't seen my kid in a week.
We had brief contact over the phone. We would constantly argue. I was trying to set up some kind of mediation. I had no response. I went to the police department. I think it's unfair that she practically changed her phone number, doesn't respond to any letters. I have no way to contact her. I don't have any updated phone number.
Mr. Coates, I'm going to tell you something, sir. There is no question in my mind that there were substantial periods of time when you did not see him. And when you went to pick him up on his birthday because you thought that that was perfectly fine to do without giving the mother any notice and saying, gee, I'd like to, I'm speaking, that you were playing around. You were exercising your muscle. You weren't doing the right thing for your child, certainly, because the child should never be placed in the middle of the two of you if she was acting in an immature fashion. If she was, that doesn't mean that you respond in an immature fashion by going to his daycare and picking him up without giving her notification first. Yeah, I'm listening.
I had made several attempts to contact her prior to me going to picking him up in April.
And?
I had not received a response. She turned her phone off. I tried to call her.
Then you go to court. Show me where you went to court in April prior to going to the daycare center. Show me. And I will rest my case. Show me. You didn't.
Yes,
what you did was a little self-help. You just went there and picked him up.
After I had not seen him for some time, I made several attempts to contact her. Yes.
If you knew where the child was, it's very easy to find the mother.
I had made several attempts to go
Listen,
to
Mr. Coates, you may be able to fool around with some people. You're not going to fool around with me. I have 35 years in this business. So if you had expenses that you had to go through because she went to Nevada, because you've been jerking her around for months, and for a very long time, because court of 2003, you said I gave her $500 plus a month for your child. And I'm prepared to say to you unequivocally that that is a lie.
It's untrue, Your Honor.
Really?
Even when I did not work, she still continued to receive her support, Your Honor. Even when I was not working. It might have been not what she was accustomed to, but she continuously got the...
No, listen to me, sir. You testified a moment ago that you gave her $500 plus a month, every month, from June of 2002 until June of 2003. Is now that you're telling me that sometimes it may have been a little less than that?
Sometimes it was a little more.
No,
yes,
that's not what I asked you. I said was sometimes a little bit less.
And sometimes it was a little more.
I don't care about more. I asked you about less.
Yes, it was, on occasion.
That's all. Okay. You have an order of visitation of custody now?
No, I'm still waiting.
We're in 2006 now, sir. What have you been doing with yourself?
If you would just look, there's several attempts made to contact her. There's several attempts made to at least contact the court, the child support agency, to find where she was, where she'd serve her. I mean, I don't know what...
Miss Grace, are you back in California now?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been there?
Since about November 15th. It was right before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Since November of 2005, has Mr. Coates seen his son?
No.
When was the time immediately preceding that Mr. Coates saw his son?
October 28th. We had court October 26th.
Of 2005?
2005. And I've always wanted Xavier to have a relationship with Brandon, so when I saw Brandon in court, I said, if you want to see him, that's fine. You know, you can see him. And Brandon came to the house with me. Xavier was very shy.
Came to the house where?
To my grandma's house where I'm staying in Granada Hills. The address that I'm at in Granada Hills.
Just a second. So Mr. Coates actually in October came to your house?
Yes, he came and hugged my mom and said hi to my grandma.
Keep going.
So Xavier was shy. He was kind of hiding from him. So the three of us hung out for a while. My son seemed like he was getting used to him. So I told him he could go ahead and take him on Friday, which I believe is October 28th. He said he was going to take him to Disneyland on Saturday. On Saturday, he called in the evening and said, we didn't make it to Disneyland today. We're going to go tomorrow. And I said, still trying to be cooperative. I said, it's okay for this time, but in the future, just stick to the plan. And he said, fine. So Sunday night, he sent me a text message that they were on their way home from Disneyland. And he never came home Sunday night, never called, didn't answer my phone calls. I was frantically leaving messages. That night, in the middle of the night, 1 or 2 in the morning, I went to the police station. And I was nervous because he told me he was bringing him back. I didn't know if they got into a car accident or if he just wasn't bringing him back.
Keep going.
So I filed a report that night, and then the next day he still wasn't back. I went to the address that Brandon had given me, and no one was there. So I called the police again. So the police went to Brandon's job, and Brandon was at work, and my son wasn't with him. And he just decided that he was going to keep him.
Where was he?
He was with my grandmother. I didn't think it was right to send my child back and not know when I'm going to see him again.
Mr. Coates, I am very sensitive to the rights of non-custodial parents to see their children. I'm particularly very sensitive to fathers who are deprived of visitation, deprived of custody, because I think that it is the right of every child to have the love and support of two parents. But I can tell someone who's a manipulator from someone who is genuinely interested in seeing their child and seeing the right thing happen with their child. You explain to me why, if you picked up the child and said to his mother, who said to you, come back to my mother's house, you want to see Xavier, you want to take him for the weekend, I'm sure he'd like to spend time with you, you take your son, and then you don't return him.
Yes.
And you went to pick him up at the daycare without giving her any notice. I might try to escape the state from you, too. I'm not excusing Miss Grace from leaving the jurisdiction. Before you leave the jurisdiction, you have the responsibility to contact child's father and do it. Father says, I don't want you to go. If you can't come to terms, a court will give you that right. But I have a sense that Mr. Coates wasn't right there as a participating parent. Because according to you, Mr. Coates, the justice system failed you. You weren't properly served. You weren't served with your judgment of divorce. You weren't served with an action for divorce. You weren't served with an action for child support. You weren't served with the order of child support. The whole justice system failed you. Everything's failed you. And I want to tell you something, Mr. Coates. I don't believe that. Now I'll hear you.
Okay, Your Honor. He spent most of the time with me during that period. I was working the night shift from the afternoon to the midnight. He would stay with me every morning, every afternoon. I would walk him to daycare.
Just a second.
Until
From what period to what period, Mr. Coates? Give me the month and year.
June of 2003, up until the point where Shen decided to discontinue all contact.
Where were you from June of 2002 till June of 2003?
I was staying with my mother, where I regularly saw him as well. And then I got my own place with a roommate, where I was regularly seeing him there as well.
Is that true?
No. It was my idea when he started working that shift that was 4 o'clock to midnight. I thought that, that would be a good idea that he could watch Xavier during the day, but he wouldn't do it. He was out all night. He slept all day. It didn't work out.
Life.
On April 2nd, the first day that he took him from daycare, I didn't know where he was. His father didn't know where he was. His sister didn't know where he was. I was especially afraid because I'm not used to being away from my son.
Did he bring him back?
There was a lot of back and forth with the police, and he brought him back that Sunday.
Yes, Mr. Coates.
Okay. Prior to that, I had made several attempts to contact her. She did not reply. I went and picked him up the weekend of his birthday. She called the police. They called me. I called her directly back and said I picked him up for his birthday. She stated that he had a birthday party on Sunday. I had him that Friday and Saturday. I returned him on Sunday so he could have the birthday party that she had planned for him. And that's when she, again, no contact. Haven't heard from him.
Grow up. Good luck to you. He's a manipulator. Put your hand down. Mr. Coates, I hope that the family court judge before whom you appear understands the fact that you are not one of those fathers that's been deprived of his rights. You are one of those fathers that works the system. And you would also like to see your son, but it's going to be convenient and by your terms. And maybe that's the way it was with her when you were married.
Untrue,
that's not the way it's going to be anymore.
And, Your Honor, also he's saying that we have equal custody, and we don't. I have sole custody.
Oh, yeah, I was never served with that either.
It's the same.
But she had my address.
You are just, Mr. Coates, one sad victim of the justice system.
So sad.
Adam, you did the wrong thing by moving. I am not awarding you anything on your counterclaim, but I'm telling you, you have to see to it that as difficult as he is, that your son get to see him on a regular basis. Do you understand?
Yes, I agree with you. I've tried to do as much as I can for my son to have a
But if he's going to
relationship
take off, Mr. Coates, it's going to be under a supervised situation. That's what I would do with you until you can demonstrate that you're not going to take off with him.
Your Honor?
I didn't leave the state. My address is known. All my information has been known.
Do me a favor. Escort him outside. I'm finished with him.
Okay. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she was fair.
Case number 495 on the calendar in the matter of Langbecker versus Morgan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Langbecker, according to your complaint, you took care of the defendant's 5-year-old son for a period of time and believe she should reimburse you for the expenses that you had while you were caring for him because she left him for a longer period of time than was originally anticipated.
Correct.
Ms. Morgan says that any money that you spent on her son was done voluntarily. You volunteered to take him for as long as she needed your assistance, and she retrieved him within a week or so, and if you spent any money, you did so gratuitously. How do you know each other?
Well, her husband has worked for us in the past off and on. He's no longer employed with us, but that's how we know Misty.
How did it come about that she left her 5-year-old with you?
Well, her husband apparently got arrested and had dropped the son off at her mother's house, I believe.
Were you together at the time?
No, ma'am.
What was your husband doing with the child?
I let my husband take my child, Andrew Morgan, because I was on the streets. I got kicked out of where I was staying.
For how long did your husband have physical custody of the child?
For about 3 weeks.
And prior to that, who was the child with?
Me.
When you say you got kicked out, what does that mean, you got kicked out?
Me and my mama had an argument. She basically told me I can leave her house.
With the grandchild?
I wasn't going to leave my son there, so I let him go with his daddy.
What was he arrested for?
Burglary and assault and battery.
Assault and battery on whom?
Me. Kidnapping.
Kidnapping of whom?
Me.
Explain that to me.
I don't know nothing about the kidnapping. They just charged him with it.
Where is he now?
He's in jail.
All right, so you were living with your mother. Were you living with your mother alone?
Well, me and my son.
But not your husband?
Mm-mm. Me and him were separated.
And so the argument that you had with your mother had absolutely nothing to do with the husband?
Mm-mm.
Had to do with you?
Yes, ma'am.
With what?
Over my boyfriend.
She didn't like your current boyfriend?
No, ma'am.
You said you want to deal with him, you deal with him outside my house?
Yes, ma'am.
So you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go with the boyfriend?
No,
What are you
ma'am.
thinking about up here? Look here. Did you go with the boyfriend?
I didn't go with him that day.
Did you go with him the next day?
Yes, ma'am, the next day.
And what does he do?
He's a painter.
Does your mother not like him because he's got problems?
Yes, ma'am.
He's got drug problems?
Well, that's one of them.
What other kind of problems does he have?
He's got a girlfriend with a baby at home.
Why did you bring the child over to Miss Langbecker?
Because my husband went to jail. When my husband went to jail, I took my son to my mama's. And when I took my son to my mama's, I was still on the street.
When you say you were on the street?
Well, I was living here and there and yonder, at a friend's house, wherever I can go.
Go ahead.
Randy Landbaker called my friend Angie, and I called Randy Landbaker back. And Randy said that in the best interest of my son, Andrew Morgan, would be for him to be over at their house where they can take care of him, provide for him, something basically I couldn't do at the time.
Does that have a ring of truth to it?
Somewhat. Her husband contacted my husband and wanted to know if we would watch Andrew till he got out of jail. And Randy didn't feel comfortable about going and picking him up at her mother's house. So that's when he contacted a friend of hers who contacted Misty, and then she called us back. And that's when we made the arrangements to watch him for a few days while she, made some arrangements to get her things together.
From today until the next person walks on the moon, it's going to take for her to get herself together.
I'm realizing that.
How long did Andrew...
About 5 days.
Is that right?
She brought him over Saturday night, and she picked him up Thursday night.
And where did you take him?
Me and him went to my mama's house.
Are you still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else lives in your mother's house?
Me, my mama, my son, and my stepdad.
Are you working?
No, ma'am.
Who works in the house?
My mom and my stepdad.
And what do you do?
I stay at home with my son, clean the house. Nothing.
Tell me what you want from her, Miss Langbecker.
Well, when she had dropped him off, she dropped him off with a backpack that had 2 shirts in it, one that was too small, and a blanket. So I went out that day and I purchased some clothes for him. And the next day, when I took him to daycare, they would not let me leave him until I paid the $200 past due balance, which she neglected.
Why did you have a past due balance?
Tell me.
I did not know that there was a past due balance on that. My husband said that he had it all paid up, and when I took my son over there wasn't no time limit. Randy Landbaker told me when I got a stable place to stay that I can come pick him up. They didn't give me no time limit, no nothing.
Keep going.
Well, we were under the assumption it would be a couple of days that she would make amends with her parents. Anyway, when I did pick him up from daycare that afternoon, they insisted that I pay for the week in advance.
So you paid the $200 that was past due?
Yes, and an additional $68 for the entire week.
How much did you spend on clothes?
I spent $94, then an additional $13, and then an additional $17. But what I also did was when I realized that he was going to be staying a little bit longer, I bought an inexpensive SpongeBob bed for him to sleep in.
I assume you still have that.
I do.
Where were his clothes?
That was at my mama's house.
Why didn't you bring over the clothes?
Because Randy Lambaker told me just to go pick my son up, that they would worry about the clothes later.
Miss Morgan, that doesn't make sense.
It does make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. If you worry about it later, that means the next day. So why didn't you, when you knew you were leaving your son there for a few days, get the clothes from your mother's house and bring them over to her house?
Because Randy Lambaker knows my family. He knew that my mama would not let me take my son out of that house with anything to take to their house.
So you mean you snuck him out of the house?
No, I didn't sneak him out. I just took him out.
Where was she, your mother?
She was there.
When you say you just took him out, did you tell her you were taking her over to the Lambakers?
No, I didn't tell her that.
What did you expect him to wear?
Randy Lambaker said he had it all covered.
Just a second. What did you expect your son to wear? You're his mother.
I would have went and got his clothes the next day if they wanted me to.
Well,
but when I
what do
went
you mean
over
if they
there
wanted
the
you
next
to?
day,
What did you expect them to put on his back to go to school?
Like I said, I would have went over there the next day. I did go over there the next day.
Well, when you went over there the next day, other than bringing your smile, what did you bring?
I didn't bring nothing. I went over there to see my son and talk to him.
So you brought nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The fact that you...
Becker says former friend Misty Morgan owes for child care expenses and daycare fees. Elizabeth claims Misty abandoned her son for 5 days.
Now, for a period of time, your son wasn't in your custody. He was with your husband. He was with your mother. Why weren't you working?
Because I had no transportation to get back and forth to work.
You mean if somebody bought you a car, you would be able to work?
No, I can go to work but I had no babysitter.
When was the last time? Well, you didn't need a babysitter. Somebody else was taking care of your baby. When was the last time you worked, Miss Morgan?
About 2 years ago.
Why?
Because my husband said I didn't have to work.
Listen, the law is clear. You really don't need a contract in circumstances like this in order to recoup necessary expenses for a child. Parents are responsible to pay for the necessaries of their children. Necessaries. Not extravagances, but parents are responsible for the necessaries. Food, clothing, shelter. And in these circumstances, daycare, because she has to go to work. That is your responsibility, Miss Morgan. And the fact that you have been unwilling or unable to provide for your child doesn't mean that a stranger who provides for your child does so as a gift. It's no different if the state gave you welfare for your child, and all of a sudden you win the lottery, and the state comes in and says, we're taking that money, or a big chunk of it, because we supported your child, but that doesn't mean it was a gift, and now you got some money, you got to give it back. Well, this is a stranger to you. She's not the government necessarily, and I don't think she's necessarily a rich lady. So you have to pay her back for what she laid out for your child while you were being irresponsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $392. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Is our excuse. You may step out.
He's a great kid.
21-year-old Crystal Sanchez is suing beauty salon owner Christina Cobian for damage caused to her hair from bad highlights.
Miss Sanchez, how old are you?
21.
Is that your own hair?
Yes.
All of it?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I ask you that question because your lawsuit is for $1,000 because you say you went to a beauty salon that is owned by the defendant and one of the stylists there ruined your hair.
Yes, that's correct.
Turn around, please. Let me look at the back of your hair. How did they ruin your hair?
It looks normal now, but I have pictures to show you how she messed up my hair. She had
Just a second. You were going in there to have her put blonde highlights in your hair?
Yeah, I wanted my natural dark brown base with medium blonde highlights.
Why?
I don't know, I thought it would look nice.
No.
Because all my friends have that.
No. Don't do that again. Don't think about doing that again. I'm allowed to have an opinion about that. Look how gorgeous she is with that gorgeous hair. Why in the world would you want to put anything at your age in your hair to change that gorgeous color? What do you do for a living?
I'm a business banking representative. I handle small business accounts for business
You like your
owners.
job?
It's something for now till I find another job more within my degree.
Which is?
Economics and communications.
So you think that you're going to find something where you're going to be able to shine, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little advice before we get into this case. Somebody like you who's got a beautiful face and beautiful hair, when you put blonde streaks in, look at me for all the wrong reasons. You want somebody to look at you and to recognize you because you're bright and you're doing good work and you're achieving something, not by putting streaks in your hair or rings in your nose or stuff in your tongue. You know what I'm talking about? You know, the people that run around with pink hair and purple hair and yellow hair, they're saying, look at me for all the wrong reasons. If you achieve something, people will recognize you. You got it?
Yeah.
Now, you went to her beauty salon to put these ridiculous blonde streaks in, and she turned you over to her technician. You must be Lulu. Lulu. So tell me what happened.
So I was running a little bit late, probably because I was stuck in traffic.
You see how fast I did what I had to do?
Yeah.
Try to follow my tempo.
Okay, sorry. And when I had initially got there, I thought that Christina was going to do my hair because that's who I scheduled the appointment with.
She made an appointment with you?
Yes.
Why did you switch her appointment to Lulu?
She got there late, and I needed to step out. I had an emergency.
What kind of an emergency did you have?
I go to church, and I'm a Christian, and somebody invited me to go see some young girl who had some problems, and I needed to go over there.
That was pretty fast thinking.
Honest, true.
God should strike you down that that's a true story?
Amen.
Amen. Right. All right, so you took Lulu. That was your first mistake.
Yeah.
Because you called up and made an appointment with her.
Yeah.
Because she had a recommendation.
Yeah, she does a nice job with hair.
So you knew that, but you knew nothing about Miss Lulu.
I had called, though, and asked if Christina could still do my hair, and she stated yes. And I waited there for an hour before they even came to approach me and talk to me and let me know that she couldn't do my hair. And then she told me, oh, well, Lulu can do your hair.
That was your first mistake. That was your mistake. You say, thank you very much. I don't know a thing about Lulu. I'm leaving. You got it?
I see, but I trusted her judgment because she
Why would you trust her judgment? You didn't know her from a hole in the wall.
I trusted her judgment because Christina does good hair, and if
Christina does good hair, she owns the shop.
Lulu.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
You're in business, right?
Yeah.
Christina does good hair. She owns the shop. She has a customer who's going to pay how much for these highlights?
$145.
$145. She's not letting you walk out of the store. That blouse is really blinding. She's not going to let you walk out of the store. Why would you trust her judgment?
I guess, I don't know.
You made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so you let Lulu do it, and what happened?
I let her know that I wanted, what I wanted, and she did my hair completely how I didn't want it, and it was just orange and ash blonde, and I specifically said that I didn't want ash blonde highlights, and she gave me a black base and not even a dark brown base. It was this base, so I don't know how, from what I asked, how she came up with putting those colors.
I don't know either. When did this happen?
December 1st.
And since December 1st, all your hair has grown out, you've washed out the color, you had it done again. What happened?
I basically just bought a box of hair dye at the store, and I put black over the hair that she did for me. And then I deep conditioned my hair and just didn't wash it as often.
Let me see the pictures, please.
Okay.
Well, it is highlights. They're ugly.
If you look, you could see bold, my hair is really thin.
Oh, awful. Lulu, you better go back to school, honey. This is not beautiful. Listen, your hair is okay. You're suing him for $1,000. That's ridiculous. But she's a dissatisfied customer. And what are you supposed to do as a business person for a dissatisfied customer? You want to look at this hair?
I would love to. When she called me saying about the problem with her hair, come and see me.
Listen,
she got her hair done on the 1st.
Listen, I want you to take a look at this.
Okay. She got her hair done on the 1st. Oh, sorry.
Don't give me the whole story. Just take a look at the picture. The picture says 1,000 words. Got it? Is that ugly or what?
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Is that way that she's called me? Yeah.
Just a second. That's what it is. That's not somebody else's head. That's her head. It's ugly. So if somebody's dissatisfied with your work, what are you supposed to do?
Make her happy.
Either make her happy or give her money back.
If you have a business, a person cannot just call and say, hey, I'm not happy with my hair.
She came back to your shop, according to your answer. So you had an opportunity to look at this.
She came back because she said the highlights were thick, too thick. And
they are too thick. They look awful.
That's what she asked. You know, let me explain.
No. She's not a stupid woman. She used bad judgment by letting Lulu do her hair. But when you're a businesswoman, Ms. Cobian, and because I'm not wasting my time with this case anymore, $1,000 is out of the question because your hair did not suffer any permanent damage. It needed some restructuring for a while. Probably serves you right for touching it in the first place. I hope it taught you a good lesson. But first of all, she called and made an appointment with you, and you gave it to Lulu.
She had an opportunity to say no?
Listen to me. Don't answer me back. This is not a give and take. We are not on an equal footing.
Okay. Sorry about that.
The first thing that happens is you give her to somebody with whom she did not have an appointment. She was dissatisfied with her hair, and not only was she dissatisfied, but based on that picture, she had a good reason to be dissatisfied with her hair. Now, if I'm a customer and I'm dissatisfied with what you did in your shop to my hair, I don't want to let somebody else correct it. I want my money back. And that's what you should have given her. Period. End of discussion. Then you wouldn't have been embarrassed. Then everybody who goes to your shop is going to see you here in court, having been told by me that you did the wrong thing. You should have said, I'm sorry, Ms. Sanchez, if you don't like your hair, I'm going to give you your money back. Go to someplace else and have it done. If you like, I'll give you some free conditioning if you like. But I want you to leave a satisfied customer. Not like that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $145. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Have been her sister before.
Almansky. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Melnick, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $500.
Yes, Your
The
Honor.
defendant says you never gave her any money. There was never a loan. She at one point made a gift to you in the amount of $500 because she felt badly. You had just been fired from your job. Then you insulted her, and she stopped payment on that check. How do you know each other?
We used to work together
Where?
in a furniture store,
What kind of job did you have? And what kind of job did you have?
a salesperson.
When did you start working there?
In October 2005.
And when did you start working there?
In March 2003.
Are you still working there?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you work immediately before that?
I used to work in a medical office.
When did you work there?
Like 6 months before I started working in a furniture store.
How did you support yourself in that 6-month period?
I'm a student and also I have a parental support. My dad helps me.
Where does he live?
He lives in the same building, but different apartments.
And who do you live with?
I live with my mom.
Okay. When did you make this alleged loan to Miss Almansky?
In December 2005.
Tell me about it.
When I came to work, I saw her crying. I asked what happened. She said that she has some kind of financial difficulties, and she has a house, and she doesn't have money to pay for a house. She has 3 dogs, and her husband was not supportive because I don't know what happened. So I felt bad, and I loaned her money.
Just a minute. So you saw her crying. She told you she had financial trouble. Did she ask you for money?
Yes, she did.
Well, what did she say? I am asking you what she asked you and what you said to her.
Oh, she said, if you can help me, please, I would pay you back for sure. My birthday is coming, and I don't know what to do with my financial problems, and that's all.
So you gave her $500?
Yes.
Did you take it out of the bank?
No, I brought her cash.
Where'd you get the cash from?
My dad.
What's his name?
Melnick.
Where does he work?
Air conditioners and heaters.
What's his phone number?
5719.
Okay. Now, tell me your story.
I never borrowed money from her. She was hired on October 20th, 2005 as a personal assistant to help me out in the office. After a 3 months trial period, she was terminated for non-performance. So I went personally to her house, brought her a last paycheck.
You went to her house?
Yes, I drove to her house.
Is that standard procedure?
No.
So why did you go to her house?
To help her out.
Had you been to her house before?
No.
Were you telling her she was terminated at the time you went to her house?
Yes.
Rather than telling her in the office?
Basically, yes.
How much was the paycheck?
Probably around 100 or $200.
How much was the paycheck?
For 300 something.
And she came to your house, and she had not been to your house before?
No.
And you weren't expecting to be fired?
I was.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Why?
Because she accused me in flirting with her husband. That's why she went to my boss, and she started talking bad things about me, so she got me fired, basically.
Does her husband work in the place, too?
No, what happened, he was waiting for her, and she went to the bank to deposit the check, and we were sitting and just talking, laughing. I offered the coffee, and one of her friends, male friends, was passing by the showroom, and he saw us talking, so he came up to her, and he started talking that we were flirting. That's why she got angry. We got into an argument, and she was pushing my boss to fire me, so I was expecting that reaction.
Okay, so tell me about this check.
My check to her?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when I brought her a paycheck, since she was fired, and I knew that she had no job, no money, she was short on bills, I decided to give her
How did you know that?
She told me so.
When did she tell you that?
When she was working there, on a couple of times on several occasions.
She said what?
She mentioned that she was short on cash.
And?
And I gave her a gift, $500.
You have the check? Let me
Yes,
see
I
it,
do.
please.
And the check was stopped payment the same day she gave it to me.
Well, she wrote on this check, gift.
I know. I didn't pay attention to that. And she didn't spell my name correctly. She was the bookkeeper, and she was giving me checks every 2 weeks. So basically, she knew how to spell my name correctly. So she did that for a purpose, because she knew what she's going to say just in case. That's what she said. After the check was sent back to me from the bank, I called her right away, and I said, listen, give me my money back. And she said, what are you going to do? You're fired. We don't see each other. It was a gift. I said, right, it was a gift. It's the 21st century. You know me 2 months, and you're going to give me a gift for $500 because you feel bad for me?
Where do you live, Miss Melnick?
In Hollywood, Harvard.
You live with your mother?
Yes, I do.
And your mom, does she work?
She just came to the United States.
So you're supporting her?
Yes, I do.
And your father, how long has he been here?
4 years.
Does he speak English?
Just very little.
And what you're telling me is he gave you the $500 in December to give to her?
Yes.
Okay, let's go find out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did he give her any?
Claims former co-worker Olga Almansky borrowed $500 and never paid it back. Olga claims Tatiana's lawsuit is retaliation for getting fired.
Is this Mr. Melnick? Mr. Melnick, this is Judge Scheindlin. I have a couple of questions for you. Your daughter, Tatiana, is here before me, and I have a question for you about some money. I want you to think back, Mr. Melnick, to December. You remember this past December? Did you give your daughter any money? How much do you give her? You give her $800 a month? To her or to her mother? To her or to her mother? Hello. Yes. I'm just asking Mr. Melnick whether in December, other than the $800 that he gives her every month, did he give her any extra money? Well, I'm asking you, would you ask him, please? He gave her $500 or $600. Does he remember why he gave her the $500 or $600 in December? Ask him. Don't. Listen to me. Listen to me. Shh. Listen. I don't want you to tell me. I want you to ask him why he gave her this money in December. Listen to me. Listen to me. Don't answer for him. Ask him the question. Did she ask him for this $500 or $600? Okay. And is he, I want you to ask him this question. Don't answer. I want you to ask him this question. Is he positive that he gave her this $500 or $600 in December? Ask him the question. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Ms. Melnick, as difficult as it was dealing with your father and whoever else was there with him, is this his wife or somebody else who's there with him? Was somebody there? Whatever. It does appear that he gave you money in December. Mm-hmm. And he said he remembers giving you $500 or $600 in December. I'm speaking. The perception that she was, I believe that you gave her this $500 check. I believe that you gave it to her to give her a little bit of a zinger, and you put a stop to it the next day. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very glad.
Spangler versus Trevino. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Catherine Spangler is suing her former roommate, 24-year-old Allison Trevino, for rent, a PlayStation 2, and for putting holes in her bedroom wall.
Ms. Spangler, the defendant moved into your home. You rented her a room, according to you. She left without paying rent. She made a hole in one of the walls in the bedroom, I gather, where she was living. And you also claim that she owes you for a PlayStation that she took and did not return. Ms. Trevino says that there was no set rent, that she was perfectly prepared to pay for the hole that she made accidentally in her bedroom, and that the PlayStation was old and it broke. How did you find her?
Shh. Ryan and I went to a concert one night and met her at a bar.
Yes.
And we became friends. And she was with her then fiancé, Chris, at the time, and they later broke up, which left her without a place to live.
Well, you met her at a bar. On what date?
November, early November.
And when did she move in with you?
In May of '05.
You met her in early November of '04?
Correct.
So you knew her for a while before she moved in?
Yep.
Oh, fine. And you liked her?
Uh-huh, we were friends.
Good. She needed a place to stay because she broke up with the boyfriend. She called you. Mm-hmm. What did you say to her? What did she say to you?
I said that I would need to talk to Ryan because Ryan and I own the house together. Ryan and I broke up, so that left me with the house to myself, and I did have 2 empty rooms to rent out. I called Ryan and discussed an amount, and he said $400, and I called back Allie, and I explained to her that $200 would go to me every month and $200 would go to Ryan every month, and that was agreed upon, and she moved in May.
Did she pay the money in May?
Yes, she did.
June?
June, she paid Ryan $200, and she couldn't afford to pay me $200. I said that that was fine if she waited another month to pay me.
And what happened in July?
She paid me. She didn't have the June.
So she still owed you $200. Leave.
She left November 3rd. I mean, her stuff is still in our house.
Just a sec. August, did she pay you?
Yes, she did.
September?
September, she owes Ryan $200. She paid me.
She doesn't know anything. He's not a party to this lawsuit. October?
She failed to pay both.
Was she still there in October?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Basically, when I talked to Katie on the phone to move in with her, I explained to her that I was in a lot of trouble with my finances. My boyfriend at the time had kicked me out. I'd been giving him all of my paychecks, so I was really behind in money. And basically, you know, we worked on an agreement to where I could pay her whenever I had the money. That was kind of like how it worked out.
Pay her what?
Just whatever money I had to give to her.
But she says that you've been giving her money regularly.
I have been giving her money.
Regularly?
Except for the months that I didn't have the money.
Just a second, but regularly, in the same amount. $400?
Well, I missed it June. I gave her as much as I could.
$400, $200, $400, $400, $400. I mean, that is a set amount. You can't get any more set than that. Why didn't you pay in June?
I didn't have enough money, and I explained that to her.
Why didn't you pay in October?
Well, basically, we had agreed because I didn't have the money that I would give her as much as I could, being the amount, if I had to have paid rent, the $400.
So instead of saying to you, don't pay me anything, she said, well, give me what you can.
Right. And I was giving her what I could. Well, the last month, she and I were sharing the house, and her ex had moved out, and he wanted to move back into the house. Therefore, we both had to move out. Once again, I was low on funds. I needed to find the money to find a deposit on a new apartment.
Yes, I'm not interested, Ms. Trevino, in your trials and tribulations.
Okay.
I just changed my mind. She owes you $800 in rent because I assume that you have to give the co-owner of the house his rent.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So she owes you $800 in rent. Now, what about this hole that you put in the room?
It was an accident, and we had someone who was going to fix it for free. And they went ahead and had it fixed without even saying anything to me about it, and then tried to charge me for it.
Good. That's what you should do. She doesn't have to rely on you to have somebody fix it for free. Put up.
Besides that, they wouldn't let me come and get any of my stuff unless I'd given them the money. I didn't have the money to give them. So they say my stuff's still there. It's because they won't give it to me.
How much was it to fix the hole in the wall?
The damage is actually still there.
Can I see a picture of it, please?
Yeah. That's funny. They sent me a receipt saying that they had it fixed.
Well, if they did that, then they weren't being honest with you.
Right.
I just want to see a hole in the wall.
I also have the estimate for the damages.
How'd you do this damage to the wall?
It was an accident, basically.
Would you just tell me how it happened?
We were moving all my furniture out and we fell into the wall, like all my bed and like my dresser.
Who fell into the wall?
I did. There was a table and my bed and like other furniture that was in there. And I had told her about it, so it wasn't like a shock or anything.
Would have
And
been
I
a shock
offered
to
fix
me.
It was an accident.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you do?
I'm a makeup artist.
Where?
I was for MAC, and now I live in Utah. I work for Lancome.
Full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So you have plenty of dough. $875
I don't
so
have
far.
plenty of dough.
I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me. Now, put your hand down. We fixed the hole in the wall. $75 is cheap enough to fix this hole in the wall. It's good that you can get somebody to fix it for $75.
Yeah,
$800 for rent. And tell me about the PlayStation.
The PlayStation she had taken from the living room and put into her room because her DVD player broke, and it has a DVD component into it. And I think she just accidentally took it when she was moving out all of her things. And then she called Ryan and said that she was going to give it back to him, and they arranged a date and meeting spot, and she failed to show up. And then she called 2 weeks later and just stated that it had broken.
What purse do you have in the house?
I'm not sure. There's boxes in the garage.
There's clothing, There's clothing, a couple of cabinets, dressers type things.
How long have they been there?
Since the beginning of November, they've been put in the garage because somebody else is in that room now.
Oh. Can I please say something?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you want?
Well, my dresser, which is like a $500 dresser, I had like a matched bedroom set, was in the garage, and Katie's band had like a band thing at their house, and her friends had moved my $500 dresser into a shed, which is very heavy. I can't move it on my own, and it rained and damaged it, and all my clothes were in it, and all my clothes were like all moldy from there, and I couldn't move it on my own. But then when I went to go have it moved, I had someone to help me. They wouldn't let me come pick up my stuff, including my boxes and my other nightstand, which was in the garage, which was part of the match set. So...
Where's the PlayStation?
It's broken. I already told him that.
When did you purchase the PlayStation?
It's about 3 years old.
How much was it when you purchased it?
It was $200 when I purchased it.
So if you went to sell it at the time that you took it, maybe you'd get 25 or 50 bucks for it. Is that a fair statement? Good. Sell her dresser. Got it? What? Sell her dresser. She's abandoned the property. It's been in your home now for a period of over 6 months.
That's not true. I did not abandon it.
Just a second. I've just ruled that you've abandoned it.
They wouldn't let me come and get it.
Listen to me. Shh.
Oh, my goodness.
Sell it and buy a new PlayStation. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Thank you very much. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff, come out at 875. Good night.
Excuse me, step out.
I think it was fair. I think.
Have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Kistler, this is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 2 children.
Correct.
And this is your former husband.
Correct.
This son managed to accumulate a whole bunch of tickets.
Correct.
He was in your physical custody at the time he got those tickets.
Correct.
You paid those tickets to clear up his record, and
Correct.
you believe your former husband should be responsible for half of those tickets.
I do.
Mr. Kistler says that it's owing to your own actions that he got those tickets to begin with, and if you chose to pay them because you chose to be an indulgent parent, that's not his problem.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been divorced?
7 years.
And how old are you?
18.
How old were you when you got all these tickets?
About 16.
Stand up with your mother. What kind of tickets were they?
They were reckless driving and careless driving.
Well, that's not funny. Did they take your license away?
No, they did not.
Why not?
Because
Where do you live? In what jurisdiction do you live?
Lake Orion?
In California?
No, Michigan.
Michigan? Yes. But they were smarter in Michigan. You mean you have a conviction for reckless driving when you're 16 years old and they don't take away your license?
Negative. Wasn't a conviction for it. The situation at hand was he was with his friends in our subdivision, which is all dirt road. It's a kind of a cottage community. And between running around with their four-wheelers, kids were coming home from school, one of the parents felt the boys were reckless. He had like 4 or 5 other buddies with him. The officer gave him a ticket for reckless on someone else's say-so, having not witnessed anything.
Did you pay the ticket?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We went to
Listen
court.
to
The
me.
ticket, no, the ticket itself was not paid.
I'm speaking. When I speak, don't.
Okay.
Did you pay the ticket?
It was dropped to a careless.
It was dropped to careless driving, which
Right.
means he pled, listen to me, which means he pled guilty to careless driving.
Correct.
Right? Yes. Now, you wouldn't have pled guilty to careless driving if you weren't driving carelessly. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect.
It was less points.
Oh, I'm getting your picture.
Yeah, it went from a...
No, I'm getting it.
Mhm.
I'm getting it. And you honestly believe that
I paid
it was
it because
unjust?
I paid it, Your Honor, because I checked with Oakland County courts in regards to my son because of his age, my responsibility.
That's not what I asked you.
And I said, what happens if it's not paid?
Oh, just listen to me.
Well, it was cheaper to pay the tickets.
I'm still talking.
Yes, ma'am.
You thought that you would pay it, even though you felt as if, according to what you started to say to me, that the sheriff was called on somebody else's say-so who didn't even see him, so they really weren't doing anything that wrong. They were just some guys sort of fooling around.
I questioned which boy it was. The man said
You questioned which boy it was.
Right, there was
right.
5
All right,
boys.
now let's get to the other tickets that he got. What's your first name?
Eric.
What other tickets did you get, Eric?
I've gotten a couple since I've had my license.
What tickets were they?
Unsafe start when I first got my license.
But you didn't pay it.
No, that it was dropped.
Give me the month of that ticket. Give me as a matter of fact, Miss Kistler, give me the month of the first ticket. Put them in chronological order.
This first one, it was unsafe in town.
Just a second. That's the first one. Can I see that one, please, Bert? Because she mumbles when she tells me what the charge was. No, I just want that one.
Just that one.
Thank you. Unsafe start. This ticket was dismissed. The officer was a no-show. And this was March 2nd, 2004. So you went to court on that, and the officer was a no-show, so that case was dismissed.
Correct.
When was the next ticket?
The next ticket was actually considered a trespassing one.
May I see it, please?
Certainly.
Well, this wasn't a parking ticket. This was a crime he committed.
Right. They were just tickets. Correct.
This was not a ticket. This was a crime. He was arrested for trespassing. Where did you trespass, Eric?
No, I was not arrested for it. I was with my friends. My one friend knew of an abandoned cottage, I guess you could say. We went to that. The police showed up. They did not give us any tickets.
Eric! You were arrested for trespass.
I was not arrested, no.
That's what it says here. You mean the police were lying when they said the crime was trespass. There was a plea and a fine. That means you pled guilty to something and you were paid a fine.
Yeah, there was no
okay.
arrest, ma'am. We found out
Miss
about...
Kisler, there has to be an arrest, madam, in order for there to be a conviction. That's how the criminal justice system works.
And I can
They may
respect
not have
that.
put him in jail, but there has to be a charge. If there is a charge, there has to be an arrest, either an arrest or some sort of process that brings the case to court. Now, let me see the third one.
Would you like to know how we found out about the trespassing issue?
No. This was September of '04, but the offense was August of '04, and the offense was speeding. Let's have the next one.
This was a double. These were all the ones that we went to court on.
And he's got one in December of '04.
Well, before
And that
December,
one-
we had one in September when he went to a Alliance game. They had a sting. He had apparently taken his seatbelt off, and they had caught him on that, and that was part of one of the bigger issues we had.
So this was their fault because they had a sting with regards
Yes.
to not wearing a seatbelt.
Right, we have a seatbelt law, and then they put little stings in little areas.
Driving while license was suspended.
That was the second part to that one because that was paid for. They said because the ticket wasn't paid for immediately at a certain time, I said it was already in the mail. And you'll see a copy of that check that was written on that. What they do is they automatically send it up to the state to suspend your license without us. The other part you'll find there is a notice.
You know, your son is a real victim. Your whole family a victim.
It's not about being a victim.
Look at all the times he was a victim so far. 5, 6 times he's been a victim.
No, it's part
I've
of
been
feeling
in this
responsibility.
earth for a very long time. I don't think that I was ever a victim as many times as poor Eric. How about you, Bert? Were you ever a victim as many times as poor Eric?
Not really.
Not really. Poor Eric has been a big victim. He's just like an accident looking to happen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can tell he's a wise.
Claims ex-husband James Kisler owes for his share of their son's traffic tickets and court fines. James says it's Leslie's fault for allowing their son to have a license.
Well, all told, these misunderstandings that your son has amounted to $1,642.30.
Because the one
And
ticket
you
for
also
reckless.
want your ex-husband to pay for lost wages.
Correct, ma'am.
According to you, lost wages for what?
Well, my husband did not support my son in these adventures, and he did not go to court. He was never there. I had to take off work to go there. Regardless, I guess my
The
previous
first time that
statement
he,
was,
the first
they told
time,
me
no, I
I'm
got it. So you
accountable.
want him to because he failed to cooperate.
Well, I expect him to
Now
be
I want
supportive
you,
of our
Mr.
son,
Kessler, to
regardless
tell-
of his ignorance of 16, 17 years old. Yes.
Let me tell you something. He wouldn't have had keys to a car after March of 2004.
He had the keys because he was going to a school 10
I
miles
don't care.
away.
I don't care if he walked like Abe Lincoln. I don't care if he walked like Lincoln to school, 5 miles. As soon as he got his first ticket when he's 16 for unsafe start, whatever happened to that, he's a wise guy. You don't get it. I can tell he's a wise guy. I've been involved with kids like that for a long time. He's not a bad kid. He's a wise guy, and he's got you like this.
Okay.
Just like this, because it's always somebody else's fault. It's the police fault. It's because the ticket crossed in the mail. They got him on a sting for seatbelts. That's not a sting. There's a law. You wear a seatbelt. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you get a ticket. It's not the police's fault that they did a sting. It was his fault because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
I'm not saying he's not at fault. He's not saying he was a victim. He knows he was guilty for doing that. We have the proof, obviously, what I've given you.
Well, what I'm saying to you is I'm going to listen to your husband, and your husband's going to say to me, what?
That,
First, Eric was living with you.
yes, ma'am.
When did he stop living with you?
I believe it was in May of 2003, I think.
Why?
We were not getting along.
Where's your other son?
I've got a daughter.
Where's your other daughter?
Lives with my ex-wife.
How long had your son been living with you?
Probably about a year or so,
Why did he leave his mother's house?
probably because my daughter was with her and just to kind of keep peace.
So he went back to his mother.
Yes.
Did he have a driver's license when he lived with you?
No.
Why not?
I had him signed up to go to driver's ed. I told him he had to maintain a grade average in school.
Which was?
C or better.
C.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty liberal. What happened?
That didn't happen. And so he didn't get driver's training.
Is that right?
Yes.
When did that happen that your father said you're not getting driver's training?
It was about 9th grade, 2003.
And when did you go and live with your mother?
9th grade, 2003. But that's not because of that, no.
Did your mother let you go? Shh, quiet. Did you go to driver's training?
Yes.
When?
10th grade.
What was your grade point average?
Didn't really pay attention to it.
Do you know what his grade point average was?
I don't know what it was. I know it wasn't good.
Okay, sir. I want you to explain why you believe, since you have joint legal custody of your son, why you shouldn't be responsible for half these tickets. Forget about the lost wages of your former wife. That's her problem.
I just simply feel that he didn't deserve a license. I mean, if he would have been in school and all that, that's one thing.
But he wasn't in school?
No.
Yes, he was.
Plus, when he went back to live with her, he still did not deserve a license. I found all this out after the fact, and I just don't feel I should be held accountable.
Did you stay in regular mainstream high school?
For a little while, yeah.
Did you graduate from mainstream high school?
No.
When did you leave mainstream high school?
Around 11th grade.
What were your grades?
C's, some lower, some higher.
If that's C average?
Yeah.
It's very easy to find out. Eric, did you maintain a C average?
Yes.
But you didn't maintain a C average when you were with your father?
No.
Are you telling me that you did better when you lived with your mother and that you dropped out of school? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Believe what you want.
I don't believe it. Why would your mother let you drop out of school?
She can't stop me from what I want to do, for one. Second of all, my grades started to drop, and I didn't like where I was living, so I stopped, and then I went to an alternative high school right after.
What do you mean you didn't like where you were living? You mean with your mother?
No, I didn't like the area. I love living with my mom. I didn't like the area.
Didn't like the area where your mother lived. Correct. So where did you go to live?
I stayed with my mom, because my only other option would be with my dad, and I'd rather stay with my mom.
So you didn't like the area where you were living, so you dropped out of school?
Pretty much.
What?
Pretty much.
Leslie Kistler claims ex-husband James Kistler owes for his share of their son's traffic tickets and court fines. James says it's Leslie's fault for allowing their son to have a license.
Ms. Kistler, you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay the tickets.
I did.
You indulged him, and if you continue to indulge Mr. Smart Aleck,
would you like to know
you're
where
going to
he's
be a
going?
very, very unhappy lady because you're going to be bailing him out forever.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking.
Yes,
a young
you're going ahead.
man who has amassed this kind of record by the time he's 17 years old with a mother who makes excuses, because that's what you've done since you came in.
Okay.
You've made excuses for his behavior, is destined for failure.
He's paying me back.
Oh, destined for failure.
Yes.
I didn't know the Navy was destined for
He's
failure.
gone into the service, Your Honor.
Listen to me, that's
how he's
wonderful.
paying
If
me
you've gone
back.
into the service, young man, you get paid?
Yeah.
Pay your mother back
Yeah.
for the tickets. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think a lot of it was...
Michael Rubosh is suing his ex-roommate, professional arm wrestler Shelley Arnold, for the return of his belongings and an assault. Michael claims Shelley tried to throw him down the stairs.
Mr. Rubosh, according to the complaint that I read, you moved in with Miss Arnold into her apartment or her home and claimed that she assaulted you, and when she threw you out, she also disposed of your property. Miss Arnold says that she never assaulted you, that you fell over and hurt yourself, you were drunk, and she does acknowledge that she packed up your stuff and put it in a trunk and left it outside. Is that right?
That is correct.
How do you know each other?
We're high school friends.
How long have you known each other?
About 15 years.
Do you have an alcohol problem, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What about Miss Arnold? Does she have an alcohol problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Did you?
Yes, I have had.
How long have you been sober?
I haven't been sober, but I no longer abuse alcohol. And
Well,
this
if you
guy
had an
gets drunk
alcohol...
on a nightly basis.
Shh. Listen to me, Miss Arnold. If you had an alcohol problem, and if you still drink...
That's a problem, huh? Okay.
And you have a sense of humor, which is a good thing. Now, on what night do you claim that Miss Arnold assaulted you?
Well, it was the 15th. It was like on...
15th of what month?
July.
Were you drunk?
Yes.
Was she drunk?
Yes.
So
That's
you were,
incorrect.
So you were both drinking?
Not that particular... Not at that point yet that night.
All right.
He was.
Listen, I'm not dealing with this assault because, quite frankly, when two people have an alcohol problem and they proceed to get drunk and they chase each other around and somebody gets hurt, I'm not interested.
wasn't
And the
drinking
shop's
with
speaking.
Sorry.
So far, you're not losing anything. Now, how long did you live in Miss Arnold's home?
About a month and 13 days, I figured it down to about.
Did he pay rent?
I didn't charge him a rent. I told him from the get-go that it was an inconvenience fee because he's very inconvenient.
Miss Arnold, did he pay you any money?
$250.
$250.
It was supposed to be $250 every 30 days.
You're volunteering information. It's something that I don't have time for. He gave you $250. And on what date did you take his property and put it in a trunk and put it outside?
He said he was going to come the next day.
The next day?
Yeah. Not all of it. I still have some of it. But he still owes me money. And I put out what he needed, you know, because he had been recently employed. So I put out things that he needed to get to work and to where to work and whatnot.
Did you pick up those things from outside?
No. I watched him.
I didn't pick up any of my stuff. I went there with a friend, and there was nothing there.
What do you have that belongs to him in your house?
There's some bedding and whatnot, but I put an army chest of his stuff that he needed for work, plus a mail and some of my underwear that he destroyed. I taped the top of the treasure chest So I figured he needed those things.
And you saw him...
I found some of my lingerie and his stuff. That was
Listen to me,
destroyed.
Miss Arnold. I'm losing patience with you very, very quickly. With him, too.
Here's a pair of
You
my
said-
underwear he's stretched out, and I'm bigger than he is, so two people must have been wearing these
Listen to me.
at one time.
I'm going to lose it with you in a second. Do you understand? I don't think you're
I
amusing.
understand.
You said that you watched him pick up the things. When did you watch him pick up the things?
2 days later, he came with two friends, and they put it in the trunk of a large beige car.
Go ahead.
I didn't pick anything up. I came there with my buddy, and there was nothing there.
Mr. Rubash, have you gone into rehab since
Yes,
July?
I have. Yeah.
When did you go into rehab?
I went on 6th of...
Well, this happened in July.
16th of July. I went on the 16th of July.
Here's some certificates from 97, 98, 99
I didn't
of
ask
his
you a
treatment.
I didn't ask you a question. Okay. She said that she threw you out on the 28th of July. How could you have gone into rehab on the 16th
No,
of
it
July?
was August, sorry.
August 16th, a month later.
About 2 weeks later.
How long were you in rehab?
For a month.
Is it a 30-day program?
Yeah, I'm presently in a halfway house.
Again.
I can't get rid of you both fast enough. Mr. Rubash, Mr. Rubash, get clean and sober, sir. You'll have a nice, clear head. You'll have a nice, clear mind.
I know.
Good. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I took the TV.
Party's been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Could you stand up next up, please? I have as many questions for you as I have for her. Miss Lundberg, the junior Miss Lundberg, according to your complaint, this used to be your boyfriend. He lived with you in your mother's home for several years. And you had an agreement with him that you were going to work. He wasn't doing much. You paid the living expenses, but that when you went to college, you were going to stop working and he was going to support you. Well, you got ready to go to college, and all of a sudden the relationship was over, and he didn't support you. So you want $5,000 from Mr. Brown because he promised that he would take care of you when you were ready to go to school.
Yes.
Mr. Brown says that he worked, that he paid rent. As a matter of fact, he paid your mother rent every month, $300. Is that true?
Yes, that is.
And you didn't pay your mother rent, and the two of you lived together, shared a room?
Yes.
He said he did give you his check whenever he worked. You put it into your account. You paid the bills, so he doesn't owe you anything. There are a few questions that I have that I just have to get off my chest. The answers to these questions, I think, are going to be a revelation to people out there. Your daughter was how old when you let him move into the house?
She was 17 and a half.
She was 17, and you let Mr. Brown move into the house?
Your Honor, she was living with her father, and due to Mr. Brown's living conditions, she asked me so he could better his life if I would be kind enough to let him move into my house and be my roommate.
I did live with my father.
When did she move into your house?
She moved into my house after she turned 18.
So now she's 18, an old lady, and she's living in your house. So he lived with you for 6 months before she moved in?
Correct.
Because it was a week, correct?
Yes. I mean, she was with her father more than she was with me.
Miss Lundberg, I would no sooner let somebody come in and live in with my teenage daughter in my house than I would take a flying leap off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Your Honor, you don't know the living conditions he lived under. I wanted to keep him off the streets.
He wasn't your child. This is your child. Then, after she moves in with him, according to your daughter, they wanted to start a family. So they didn't start a family right away. They bought 2 dogs and 2 cats that they also moved into your house. You
yeah,
said
but
that
it wasn't like that. I mean, what it was is we gradually got one of them, and then the other one, he worked at a veterinary hospital, and somebody threw the dog out of a window on the street, and so he brought it home because he knew that I wanted that kind of dog.
At the beginning of 2005, things were going really well between Chris and I, so we bought 2 dogs and 2 cats, and they were like our kids. That's what you wrote.
We already had the cats from before.
So not only did you get him, you got a family of 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Which I protested.
Protested? I wouldn't have protested.
Well, I told him to
showed
get
him
them
the
out
door.
to know the way he was living. I felt sorry for him.
Miss Lundberg, you're a very, very nice lady. If you feel sorry, do you have a house?
We're living in a house, yes.
Does the house have a garage?
Yes.
That's where he would be, not in the bedroom with my daughter. And the 2
She
cats
wasn't,
and the 2
Your
dogs.
Honor, she was at her father's.
She came home when she was 18.
When I was home. That's when she came home.
The majority of the time I was there when she was home, but yes, there was times when she was not home where I was at the house.
But she was not sleeping in his room. They had different rooms.
Your Honor.
The majority of the time I was in his room.
Oh, I was. Your Honor, I wasn't there all the time.
3 months after we started dating, they had asked me to come move in with them. I had a job at a restaurant at that time.
He did not have a job at a restaurant at that time. He moved in without a job, and
Ms.
I took
Lundberg,
him.
I have not finished with your mother
Okay.
because I don't think she can give me a cogent answer. I think that if she had to reflect on it now, having heard the fact that when she wasn't around, you sort of snuck around, she was being a good person, she wasn't anticipating that this whole problem started. Now you can sit down. Do you have other children, by the way?
I do.
How old are they?
27, 25, and 22.
So she's the baby?
She's the baby.
This is the last one you have to worry about?
Correct.
Had a girl. Does she still live home?
Yes.
Where are the dogs and cats?
Unfortunately, they're at my house because...
You see, you always get left with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
I take care of him.
How old are you now?
I'm 20.
Now, what makes you think Mr. Brown owes you $5,000?
He had to go to the emergency room because he was very sick, and he didn't have insurance, and so he had a bill of, it was roughly around $4,000, and he never paid it, and so it went to collections. So I told him, I was like, you know, usually with collections, they're really willing to work with you. And so he got it brought down to $2,356.96, and he did not have the money for that. The agreement was is if you paid it now, they would drop it to that amount. And so I went ahead and I paid for it, and the agreement was that he was going to pay for it from my bank account.
Was he working at the time?
At that time, he had just lost his job.
For whom?
A boxing company, PCS, I believe.
I was working for Banfield, the pet hospital. I didn't start the boxing company until after this incident. And
how much were you earning?
At the veterinary clinic, I was making about $9.50 an hour.
How much did that translate to a week?
$250, $300.
And what did you do with the money?
All my checks were deposited in her account. There was periods where I did not have a job, that is true. But I was always paying the rent. I was paying for half the groceries. I was taking care of the animals, like her cat got sick, $2,000 bill right there. I took care of it. I paid for it through my work.
Just a second. Did you get a discount for it?
Yes, I did.
Is that true?
Yes. The discount,
just a second. He paid for your cat?
No, okay. It was both of our cat, and he told me that it was my birthday present.
You have the cat?
I have the animals now because he moved to Washington and left them with me.
Okay, he said it was your birthday present.
Yes.
And it's your cat.
Well, okay.
What do you mean so well, okay?
No, he said the bill for the cat was my birthday present. And it was brought down to $200. Then his dog that I have got really sick, so I took her into the vet and ended up paying $400.
That's what happens when you play house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason I moved out, though...
She supported ex-boyfriend Chris Brown for 3 years. Christina claims Chris is from a dysfunctional family.
You played house with this man. He took his paycheck and put it in your personal account.
But it wasn't how much he said it was. I have proof that
I don't care how much it was. He worked and put his check in your account.
He couldn't get a bank account because he had bounced checks.
Listen to me. I don't care whether he could or whether he couldn't. He took his check, put it in your account. You paid bills out of that account.
His bills.
Well, whose bills are you going to pay? Bird's bills out of the account? He paid rent to your mother, and he paid that according to your mother religiously. He paid for, he says, food. How did you pay for the food?
Well, I give my checks to her, and she said that half of...
Just a second.
Whatever the
So you gave your check to her?
Yes.
How did the rent get paid to Mrs. Lundberg?
She would give her mom the $300. She would pay...
So you didn't pay
bill.
that directly. You put your money into the account,
took care of
whatever
all
it
the
was.
bills, yes.
Let's say it was $800 a month. So you had $300 for rent and $500 for everything else.
But he didn't have $500 left over. His average check was like $214 for every 2 weeks. That would only be like $450. I have statements showing of what he has deposited in my account.
Let me see. Let me see.
This is his last check. Well, one of the checks that he deposited.
Show me a lot of them, not just one that you selected.
I don't have the other statements with me.
Ma'am, I had actually asked the bank for the check stubs that I had because she deposited them in her account. They said I had to get permission from her.
Absolutely right.
Access.
I'm not interested in the living expenses. The living expenses, he put his check into your account, you played house, that's what happens. All I want to know from you, Mr. Brown, is there was a bill of $2,356, according to her, for an emergency medical. And when was that?
I think it was like June of last year.
Is that when he reached the agreement with them for $2,356?
No, it was actually August 23rd of 2005.
Now, after August of 2005, were you working?
Let me see. Yes, I was working at PCS Boxing Company.
How much would you say you paid her back of the $2,356?
That doesn't count the money that we saved, like, during the whole time. I did not spend my whole paycheck every time we were together.
You're going to have to prove that to me, sir.
I can't without my
You're going
check
to have to prove that to me, sir. This was a recent bill, and based on this, she brought one bank statement for January of 2005. Well, why did you just bring January
because,
of
Your Honor,
2005?
he had actually moved out several times, And in September, he actually got a place of his own with his friend because he decided he wanted to see if he could do it on his own. And so he didn't even live with us, and he didn't even pay me any of his checks from August on. Right after this situation, he told me that, because I was going into anatomy for my nursing program, he told me that he wanted me to quit my job after I've been working there for 3 years.
So did you move in with somebody else, sir, after the summer?
I had went out and got my own apartment.
Fine. Then at that point, you weren't giving her any money.
No.
That makes my life much easier. So you didn't pay anything of this $23.56.
Yes, Your Honor, every check was in her account.
You didn't give her any more checks, sir, after you resolved this matter with the bank for $23.56. You didn't give her any more money. You moved out.
The reason I moved out, though, is because she flew all the way across the United States for some other guy. So
that's not
just a second.
That is not,
just a
that's
second.
not the case.
Mr. Brown, you want to discuss your social history and your social problems with her, go find another venue. In this venue, we talk about money. If in the summer of 2005, immediately prior to your moving out, I think was a very good idea, you incurred $56, which she paid, expecting you to continue to make payments into her bank account to cover that bill, and then you decided you wanted to live on your own, you owe her $23.56. But he doesn't owe you $5,000, madam. Just because somebody says to you, I'm going to support you when you go to college, doesn't mean they're going to do it.
What about half of the animal bills that have occurred with food and they're expensive?
Put your hand down. I'm not interested in what you have to say. This is your daughter's problem. She created it with your assistance. She has to deal with it.
Christina Lundberg claims she supported ex-boyfriend Chris Brown for 3 years. Christina claims Chris is from a dysfunctional family.
If you can't afford the animals, get rid of them. Do you understand? If you love them and they're like your children, which is what you said here, then you take care of them.
I do take care of them.
Then that's just fine. That's what you do. You take care of them. You don't expect him to take care of them. They are not children. You don't expect him to take care of them, do you?
No.
Good. Then you take care of them. Babies wanting to play house with the assistance of their mother. I don't get it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $23.56. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. We have Luke versus Ozanix. Step forward, please.
27-year-old Sadie Luke is suing heavy metal singer Lance Ozanix for ruining her dress during a performance. Lance says it's all part of his act.
Miss Luke, your complaint states that you went to see the defendant who was performing at a club. He's a musician. And while you were there, his conduct, which amounted to almost an assault on you, took place. You claim that during that almost assault, or attempted assault, he ruined your dress. You want to be compensated for the dress and for his actions.
Yes.
And Mr. Ozanix has an interesting defense, which he's going to tell me about in a moment. Tell me where you went and when to see him perform.
I didn't actually go specifically to see him perform. My husband and I were out having dinner in the area.
Was this a dinner club where he was performing?
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever been there before?
No.
Had you ever heard of his band before?
No.
Why don't you tell me in your own words what happened?
We decided to stop into the club. It's
You
called
told me
Porter
that. I'm
Road.
past that.
So I went to the front of the audience where the action is to watch the band a little closer.
Was everybody standing up? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a rock band.
Okay.
And they're dancing and going crazy and doing that kind of stuff. And Mr. Ozanix extended his hand to me. And it was, almost a sweet gesture, almost romantic. Like, he's going to pull some kind of Elvis move.
So he extended his hand to you. Mm-hmm. Was the stage raised?
Yes.
How did you get up on stage?
Worked my way on up.
What I'm asking you is there a step for you to get up? Or
It's not that much higher. It's about that high. It's not that difficult.
Okay,
I
so
just
you sort of crawled up on the stage?
I kind of sat on the edge.
Sat on the edge
Swung
and you got
my
up.
legs over. He helped me up.
What happened when you got there?
Well, he was kind of giving me this intense look by that point. He kind of got this crazed look on his face, at which point the audience started going really wild and crazy. At that point, I knew that something wasn't right and that this wasn't going to be the typical performance where, you get swooned on stage.
They weren't doing swooning music, were they?
No, they weren't. But, you go to see a rock band and you don't expect this kind of...
Hear any bad behavior yet?
This is the bad behavior right here. He leaned over his shoulder, and as he was coming back towards me, he threw up all over the front of me.
You did do that, didn't you?
Yes.
Why don't you explain to me why you did that, sir?
I'm a singer for a heavy metal band. We've been doing this for 2 decades. There are posters all over the nightclub showing people exactly what we do.
Well, show me. Show me an example of a poster that puts them on notice.
There's about 10 or 15 of these posted.
This doesn't give patrons notice that they're going to be assaulted by you, sir.
Your
This
Honor,
shows that there is somebody, some woman wearing a mask, and you're holding on to her breast, and some gunk is coming out of your mouth, but that wouldn't certainly suggest to me that you were going to do that to me. Looks like somebody who's part of your act. Nothing gives you the right to assault a stranger.
It wasn't an assault.
Yes, it is. Whenever there is an unauthorized touching, there is an assault, sir.
I extended my hand out. I brought her up on stage. She knew exactly what was going to happen.
Well, how do you know what she knew?
The crowd was going crazy.
How do you know what she knew?
Because she didn't run away until I puked all over her.
Well, Mr. Rosanix, that would be a normal reaction.
Why
Why should she run away before you assaulted her?
If she would have seen the posters, should have known, people would have talking. We've been around for 20 years.
Mr. Rosanix, I know that this may come as a major shock to you. I have never heard of you.
That's
I
fine.
have never heard of you
We're an
or your
underground.
group. I've never heard of you or your group. I don't know of you. Have you heard of him or his group?
What's the name of the group?
What's the name of your group?
Schizo.
Schizo.
Can't say as I have.
And, you know, I am not a music aficionado, but Officer Byrd is a music aficionado. And if he's never heard of you, you are not necessarily a household name, sir. If I went into a club, I mean, if I were having a dream and I went into a club and you invited me on stage,
yes,
I might have thought that I was going to dance around with the group. I certainly would not have assumed at all that I was going to be on the receiving end of your bodily fluids, sir. So I think that is disgusting. I think it's despicable. I wouldn't go listen to you. I wouldn't go and see you. And I certainly, sir, don't think that this is something that she should have expected when you invited her up on the stage, which you did. You invited her up on the stage. Your answer is sort of different. Your answer, Mr. Rosanix, says that she came up on the stage, but that's not true because you acknowledged that you extended your hand to her and you invited her up on the stage.
Yes.
Your throwing up all over her is an assault, sir, and she is absolutely entitled to damages, which she seeks of only $500. I would have asked for a lot more. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you.
All are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was fair. She seems...
Xin chào các bạn. Các bạn hãy cùng mình tô màu cho bức tranh này nhé. Các bạn thân mến, vậy là mình đã hoàn thành xong tô màu cho bức tranh này rồi. Các bạn đừng quên like video và đăng ký kênh cho mình nhé. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.